Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of second part of a story where Issei was trained in the White Room facility. What if Issei was a lot like Ayanokoji? In this story, you will see how the story would change if Issei were a cold-hearted ruthless genius, the masterpiece of the White Room. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now let's get into part 2. When I woke up the next morning, Akeno was fully embracing me, but she was still asleep. I quickly got out of her hug and peeked out of the room to make sure no one saw me leaving. Once I made sure everything was good, I left the room, but thanks to my luck, as soon as I left I saw Sugi, the person who would make the biggest deal out of this. He had his jaw dropped looking at me. Though I tried to explain. That may just make matters worse though, I thought. I quickly closed the door to Akeno's room and tried to make my way past Sugi, but before I could yell out, "I say, did you sleep with Akeno? Did you really have to yell so loud everyone in the house could hear?" I thought. Before I could answer though, Rias came out of her room looking pissed from what she just heard. "I say, did you really do that with her?" Rias asked angrily. No. It's just one big misunderstanding," a very sleepy Akeno said. That's when everyone else came over into the hall. "Then why were you in her room?" Rias asked coldly. "I just wanted to discuss a battle strategy," I replied. I looked over at everyone else. Kiba had a small grin as he found this kind of funny. Kaneko looked the same as ever, but Sona was clearly the most upset. She was clearly pouting since she didn't expect me to sleep in her room even if she knew that I was going to see her last night. "What strategy did you guys discuss without me? Don't forget, as the king I get to decide what we do." "My word is final," Rias replied. "We'll talk about it right before it starts." "Anyway, isn't Grifia supposed to be here now?" Akeno chimed in. A few minutes later, Grifia showed up with a magic circle under her. "Hello everyone. Please stand on the teleportation circle to be teleported to the raiding game battlefield," Grifia said. With that, we all stepped on the teleportation circle and were teleported away. When we arrived, I realized that we were in the Occult Research Club room in the old school building, but in another dimension. "Now that we have arrived, I will be taking Sona and Sugi to the spectators area," Grifia said. "I say, I wish you the best of luck, not that you'll need it though," Sona said with a smirk. Sugi waved goodbye and the three of them teleported away. We waited in the room for a bit when Grafia's voice went through a giant speaker. "Hello everyone. My name is Grafia Lucifuge, and I will be the referee of this battle. Ria's team is located in the Occult Research Club room in the old school building. Riza's team is located in the Student Council room. Both teams will have 20 minutes to make a plan and to set things up. After the time has passed, I will let you know and the game will begin." With that, we all sat down on the two couches and Rias started to talk. "Alright. I have come up with a plan to defeat Riser, so listen carefully. Issei and Kaneko will go into the gym and take care of any people in there. After they do that, Akeno will blow up the gym after Issei and Kaneko leave, killing and the people still in there. Kiba will go into the forest and set up traps. I will face Riser alone." Everyone seemed content with the plan until Akeno spoke up. "Shouldn't we also listen to Issei's plan as well? We have plenty of time." Rias obviously didn't want to listen, but she allowed it anyway. With that, everyone sat down and looked at me. Here goes nothing, I thought. To put this plan simply, it will hopefully be a fast knockout. Kiba and Kaneko will go into the gym and take care of everyone in there. After that, they will go around and take care of the other pieces all over the area. Rias will go immediately to rise her and face him down right away. I will take care of their queen, and Akeno will stay back until I beat the queen. After that, I will join Kiba and Kaneko, and Akeno will join Rias. Everyone looked at me in disbelief. Even though the plan could work on paper, the chances of it actually working was very slim. However, what most people didn't know was that Akeno was going to use her fallen angel powers. I kept it a secret from everyone since Riser's team could be listening, but Akeno knows what to do. There is no way that's going to work. Rias yelled. Sona went on and on about how smart you are, but you're actually an idiot. I can't really fault her for thinking that. At first glance, This plan seemed crazy and foolish, but if you knew the hidden ace, then this plan seems genius. Hold on, Prez, Kiba said. Issei, this plan is awfully reckless, you know that, right? I nodded my head. But that Kiba picked up on something, that there was more to this plan than what I said. Kiba had been training with me for the past few days, and while I never went all out against him, he could tell I'm not the type to make foolish decisions. Kaneko seemed to be feeling the same way. But Issei, what are you hiding that could change this plan so much? Kiba wondered to himself. I say we go along with Issei's plan, Kiba said, surprising everyone except me. Kiba? You can't be serious. You know that plan will never work, Rias yelled. 2 minutes remaining, Graphia's voice said. Damn, Rias muttered under her breath. Here, everyone take one of these. It will make us be able to talk to each other telepathically. It was a small earphone that went right into our ear and then disappeared. How convenient was this? I could now tell them the full plan. I thought. I knew that Rias would not be on board with this plan, but I couldn't talk about Akeno using her fallen angel powers without having to worry about Riza secretly listening in on our conversation. Since Graphia said that we can set things up that pretty much meant do anything but attack the other team, so there would be a chance that they could use magic to listen in on us. But now that we have these, we don't have to worry. Listen up, Akeno said to everyone telepathically. I am going to use my fallen angel powers for this fight. That is why Issei thought of this, and why it will work as well. After she said that, everyone's eyes went wide. Nobody had expected her to say that, not even Rias, who knew her the most, because they heard that Akeno was going to use her fallen angel powers. That made everyone start to like the plan so much that Rias couldn't say no. Fine. We'll go along with your plan, but if it goes wrong, you're going to pay, she said angrily. Match starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and begin, Graphia said. And with that, everyone took their leave to get to their spots. So, full frontal attack plan, Riser said aloud. Riser had not expected his future wife to be so dumb. But the info he learned thanks to Eubelina's spell, he divided up his forces accordingly. He would send 2 knights and 2 rooks to take care of Kiba and Kaneko, who would be in the gym, and sent all 8 of his pawns to attack Akeno, who would be staying at the home base for a while. He decided that he would defeat Rias himself and that Eubelina could take care of the Red Dragon Emperor. Pakaki? How foolish can you be, Rias, to follow such a dumb plan? Riser chuckled to himself. I quickly headed out to try and find their queen when a purple-haired woman was flying a few meters ahead of me. Nice to meet you, Red Dragon Emperor, Eubelina said. Are you Riser's queen? I replied with an apathetic voice while activating my boosted gear. Yes, I am, and I will also be your opponent, she yelled while pointing her staff forward. I quickly jumped to the side and looked to where I just was. There was a giant hole from an explosion she just made. I guess they don't call her the Bomb Queen for nothing, I thought. Boost. I quickly activated my devil wings and started to fly up to her. I learned how to fly thanks to Sona during the training camp, since flying would be very useful for this battle. I then threw a punch at her face that pushed her back a bit. Not bad for someone who just before a devil, she said while wiping the spot I just punched her. She then pointed her staff forward and let off a barrage of explosions, which I dodged by flying around. 4 of Riser's pawns eliminated, Graphia's voice said through a speaker. Eubelina was thrown off by this, so I used the time and sent a razor-sharp water blade right at her face, which she barely dodged as it scratched the side of her face. PCH, she clicked her tongue. 4 of Riser's pawns eliminated, Graphia's voice said once again. That meant that he had no pawns anymore. Boost. What, how? That doesn't make sense. Even if she is a powerful demon, for her to take on 8 pawns alone is just insane, Eubelina said, shocked. She didn't let her guard down this time, but I still made my move as she kept casting bomb magic right where I was that I had to keep dodging. This time I flew right at her and slammed my fist right in her gut, making her cough up blood as she slammed to the ground. I flew down next to her to see that her body was slowly turning into a light blue particle. In raiding games, it's very unlikely to die. Right before you get hit with a fatal blow or have severe enough injuries, your body gets teleported to a health clinic to treat your wounds. With her disappearing, I started to make my way toward Kiba and Kaneko, since they were both doing a 2v1 right now. Once the Queen's defeat was officially announced, Akeno would make her move and help out Rias with Riser. As I started flying away, though, I got hit in the back with a large explosion. What the hell? She should be too weak to move, I thought as I fell to the ground and looked back at Yubeluna. Boost. Yubeluna had just thrown a vial to the ground and looked like she had no injuries. I guess no one told you what Phoenix Tears are, she started. They are made by Riser's family, and can heal any injury once drank. I got back up and looked at her. Why did nobody tell me about those? That would have been useful info, I thought. Yubeluna lifted her staff into the air again and let off more explosions than you could imagine. I was narrowly dodging everyone, using the smoke off all the explosions, though I managed to surround her in smoke, and she couldn't tell where I was. She smiled at this and said, "A cunning one, are we?" She then sensed the area for demonic energy. "Found you?" she said as she launched a large explosion, but to her surprise, she hit nothing. Then, before she could react, I let out a giant fire breath right behind her, sending her out of the game. I managed to deceive her by placing a decent-sized area of lingering magic that would have no effect on anything, but if you were scanning for demonic powers, that would be the only thing you sensed. Because I had enough boost that I mainly had the aura of a dragon, and because she was looking for demonic energy, she assumed the lingering pile of magic would be me. Riser's queen eliminated, Griefia said. Ria's rook eliminated, Griefia continued. But that I took off toward Kiba since he was now in a 4v1 and Akeno should be on her way to Ria's. After around 40 seconds, I found Kiba was covered in scratches and had both knights fighting him, while the two rooks were just sitting and chatting inside the gym. Kiba noticed me and didn't say anything while I snuck in through the back door and sent water blades to the two rooks. Only one of them managed to dodge, the other got pulled out because she wouldn't have been able to dodge, and then would be decapitated. My sneak attack had distracted the two knights fighting Kiba, so Kiba was finally able to get some breathing space. "That was a bit dirty, don't you think?" one of the rooks said. "All a fair and war, right?" I replied. While that conversation took place, Kiba made his way next to me. "Sorry, Kaneko and I weren't able to get much done," he started while catching his breath. "We were too focused on defense to get any real attacks in." "Are you still able to fight?" I asked. "Yay, but I can only hold out against one opponent for right now, so you are going to have to fight two," Kiba said. I cited that fighting 2-on-1 wasn't impossible, but it would be a pain to deal with. Boost. "Alright, I'll take a knight and the rook, you got the other knight," I said before charging at the rook. I aimed my fist for her face, but she dodged and sent a kick right at my face. I grabbed her leg while it was coming toward me and threw it at the knight who was coming to assist her. "No wonder you defeated our queen, you sure are a tough one," the knight said. I didn't say anything but waited for them to make their next move. Currently, Kiba and the other knight were going at it, and I had lots of boosts charged up, so I was a big threat to them right now. The two girls suddenly came at me, one from each direction. The knight got there first and swung her sword right at my neck, which I dodged. But when I did, the rook was about to slam a kick into my side. I jumped out of the way to dodge it. Immediately after, they came at me from two different directions again. But this time I sent some water blades at the rook to halt her movements, since she had to dodge them. As soon as I finished sending the water blades, the knight was ready to swing her sword down on me. But I was ready. I turned around and kneed her in the gut, which made her get the wind knocked out of her. I then summoned the water blade and landed a huge cut all across her body, making her leave the game. "One of Riser's knights eliminated," Grafia said. Now it was time for the rook. I could sense her coming right behind me, so I turned around with a backhand right across the face and sent her flying. I quickly gave chase and slammed my fist into her face as she was trying to get back up, rendering her unconscious and making her leave the game. "One of Riser's rooks eliminated. One of Riser's knights eliminated. One of Riser's bishops eliminated." I looked over at Kiba, who clearly was not in a good state. "Sorry, I can't do more. I'll leave the rest to you, Issei," Kiba said with a smile before disappearing. "One of Ria's knights eliminated," Grafia called out. But that, it only left me, Rias, and Akeno versus Riser, and one of his bishops. I flew over to the roof of the main school building to see the battle taking place. I knew that Akeno had to win this game. I definitely didn't want Riser to use all of us like playthings, but I also didn't want to let down Issei's expectations of me. I quickly sent down another holy lighting right where Riza was standing, who seemed to be freaking out right now. Impossible, how did Riza's whole peerage get taken out? He yelled in rage. His bishop was Revel Phoenix, who was trying to calm her brother down, but it was clearly not working. When the battle between us just started, Riaz was in pretty bad shape, and just to show how strong he was even without his queen, he let me hit him with a lightning strike that he didn't know was holy. He immediately started coughing up blood, and his Regan was working way slower than it normally does. He started dodging the lightning strikes, with Riaz adding more pressure with her aura of destruction. While I did have to take care of all 8 of Riser's pawns, they were light work since holy energy was so strong against demons. I guess Issei was right when he said we could win if I used my power. Even though I did have to do more than just fight Riser, as Issei said, I was still in tip-top shape, striking down lots of holy lightning at Riser. This had me thinking, though, Issei was definitely an interesting person. He never showed emotions, and yet I felt attracted to him. A big part of it was what he told me the night before, but I couldn't help to always think about him since the first day we met. I quickly got those thoughts out of my head, though, since I was in the middle of battle. I sent down multiple lighting strikes which Riser dodged, and then he sent out fire out of his body right at me and Riaz. Riaz defended us with her aura, but I could still feel how hot these flames were. After the flames settled down, Riaz surrounded Riza with her aura, making him have to fly to dodge it. But because he had to go straight up, he immediately got struck by holy lightning and got sent back down to the roof. Then Ria's aura swarmed him and started to destroy his body as he started coughing up blood. Right before I could send another holy lightning, Revel stood in front of her brother with tears in her eyes. "I know we have Riser Phoenix Purage forfeit," Revel said with tears streaming down her face. Revel was still conscious but too weakened to say or do anything. "Winner of the match," Rias Griefius said. But that Ias watched from the roof of the gym as Akeno and Rias celebrated their win over Riser. Akeno spotted me soon after and started flying toward me and Rias close behind. "Issei, I cannot truly thank you enough for what you have done for me as well as for what you have done for Rias and the rest of him." "Thank you?" Akeno said while bowing her head. "I must admit that your plan was a smart one. I guess we owe you one," she said with a small blush on her face. Then a portal opened up with Grafia, Sona and Sigi all coming out of it. "Who was I?" Sigi yelled. "You were awesome back there. You were destroying Riser Peerage completely." While Sigi was ranting about how well I did, I noticed Sona was looking more serious than usual. She looked at me signaling that we would talk about it later, so I brushed it off for right now. "I say, you did an outstanding job today." "Well done," Grafia said. "Thanks," I replied. While everyone was cheering about how they won, I just wanted to go home, so I just sat on the roof of the gym with Sona next to me. The rest of the group had gone to go check on Kib and Kaneko, so now it was just me and Sona. "Do you want to talk about it now?" I asked while looking into the purplish sky that this arena was set in. Sona looked around to make sure no one was around, then started talking. "I have a feeling that we made an enemy out of one of the big households. I don't know what we did, but apparently, Diodora Astrid insisted on watching this match. And other households normally mind their own business when it comes to things that don't involve their own house. But not only did Diodora insist on watching, he was even sending out killing intent to me, so much that Grafia was assigned to sit next to me if things got out of hand. He was mainly looking at you though throughout the match. It could be one of his outbursts, but you can never be too careful," Sona said seriously. Assuming that they didn't have any involvement with the Phoenix family could only mean that what angered him is what happened at the church. This means he most likely is going to betray the demons to side with the Fallen or some other force, I thought. I kept this to myself for right now, since throwing out random accusations without any definitive proof is never good. "Alright, well, can you drop me off at my place?" I asked. I didn't know how to use magic circles yet, and it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. "Sure, but do you mind if I crash at your place for tonight?" Sona asked. "Fine, but why?" "Well, it's already super late, and I'm already fairly tired," Sona said with a small blush on her face. I could tell she was lying, but I didn't really care so much, so I let her stay over. Sona then teleported us outside my house, which we had to sneak into to not wake my parents up. After which I got out a feuding for Sona and then started to close my eyes when Sona whispered to say, I know it's a bit weird asking, but can I sleep on the bed with you? I can't sleep on the floor, she said with her face super red. Sure, even if my bed was not big enough for 2 people I didn't really care since I wanted to go to sleep, but that Sona snuggled in bed next to me, and we both fell asleep. Issei's dream. Hey there, Issei, Drake called out. What do you need? I replied. I had just fallen asleep after the battle with Riser and his peerage, so I was hoping he didn't call me here to train. I have 2 things to tell you, Drake started, first being that you can probably activate your balance breaker now. What's a balance breaker? I asked. A balance breaker is when a sacred gear user becomes powerful enough to forcefully evolve the sacred gear to be something stronger. You actually had another upgrade before the battle with Riser, but I didn't think that you would need it since you weren't facing Riser together with Akeno. Can I do both of the upgrades right now? Yes. Activate your sacred gear. I did as I was instructed, and the red gauntlet appeared on my arm. Now channel as much energy as you can into the gauntlet. When I did that, I noticed that the gauntlet had become a bit longer, and had another gem added onto the gauntlet. It was just a little bit below where the other one was. This new ability allows you to transfer your power to other people, but in return, you will have to restart your boost. Also, since you have now awakened this power, this will now be your primary form for your sacred gear, Drake said. Okay, so how do I activate my balance breaker then? I asked. Since I am here, I can jump-start it for you. Afterward you will have to remember this feeling and it will activate. Well, that I felt lots of power from my sacred gear enter my body, but it soon cooled down with red armor covering my whole body with green gems on the back of my hands, elbows, and knees. My helmet looked a little bit like Drake's face looked, and had yellow horns coming out from where the ends of where my lips would be. In this mode, you can do everything you normally do but better. You are stronger, faster, and more durable. Not to mention that you can still add boosts onto that, Drake said with pride. It was true, I ran around a bit, and I did feel faster when I tried to fly. A pair of dragon wings came out that I also quickly got the hang of. Well, thanks for telling me, Drake. I'm gonna go now, see you later, I said while I left the sacred gear's consciousness. When I woke up I noticed that Sona was tightly hugging me. I checked my phone and saw that time was 10:24. I wonder why my alarm didn't go off or why my parent didn't wake me up. That's when Sona finally woke up as well. Hey, don't we have to go to school today? We're going to be seriously late, I said with a straight face. We don't have to go to school today, so let's go back to sleep, a very tired Sona replied. So you turned off my alarm? I asked. Sona had already fallen asleep though, so I escaped her grasp and went downstairs to see why my parent hadn't woken me up. When I was on the stairs, however, I heard people talking, so I went downstairs to see who it was. Oh, good morning. Let me introduce these people to you. My mom started first as the blue-haired beauty Zenovia, and the straight blonde hair girl is Ichinos. And you know that last one, she is Irina Shuda, your childhood friend. What? I asked myself. These 3 girls were all wearing robes that had crosses sketched on them, and had real crosses hanging on their necks. Zenovia scoffed that I was a devil, and Akeno waved at me with one hand with a smile on her face. But those weren't the things that surprised me. Not even the fact that they were from the church surprised me. What surprised me was my childhood friend Irina Shuda. Since we grew up together, she was the only other pupil to that man. While she was waving at me too with a smile on her face, I knew that even if she was from the church, she was a monster, just like me. But not the monster that you would normally think of. This girl was 100% human, but the way she thinks and moves is something not to be messed with. So, why are you guys here? I asked with a blank expression. I'm going to be letting them stay here for a while, my mom said with a grin. Wait, isn't this really bad right now? I have one of the Demon King's daughters in my room right now. If they find that out, and they just stay at a hotel, I asked bluntly. We would have, but this one insisted on buying a picture and using all of our money, Zenovia said while looking at Irina. You know that picture had holiness inside of it. Besides, you know I normally don't spend money without a good reason, Irina said while she glanced a quick grin at me. So that's what you're after, I thought. That's true. She normally is fairly responsible, Ichino's chimed in. Then the three of them started arguing about who was right when Sona finally came downstairs. Issei, that's where you were. Wait, who are these people? Sona asked while she cut herself off. I could ask the same thing, Ichino started. What are you doing here? Yay, what is she doing here, Issei? Harina asked while staring me in the eyes with the most insane-looking glare you could ever imagine. Yep, she's the same as I remember, I thought. She's a friend who was spending the night, I lied. Actually, about that, I'm going to start living here, Sona replied. My mom and Irina said at the same time. Sona then fully came down the stairs and checked the girls' attire, and realized they were from the church. Wait, I don't even know who you are, my mom pleaded. My name is Sona Chatwari. Nice to meet you, she said with a bow. Well, I don't have any spare rooms to give, my mom started. That's fine, I'll sleep in Issei's bed like I did last night, Sona said with a grin glaring at Irina. I know I can't do anything here, but Sona, you really should not make that woman mad, I thought. Issei, is that true? My mom asked. Yay, but we didn't do anything weird, I said emotionlessly. Well, I suppose that it's okay, my mom said nervously. With that, my mom headed out for work. She called in saying that she would be late since these three showed up right as she was leaving. So why are there devils here, Irina? Zenobia said while unclothing something that was hidden on her back. When she revealed it and pointed it at me and Sona, I felt like my whole body was telling me that this thing is dangerous. Zenobia, put it down, Irina asked nicely. But Irina, I said put it down, she said while staring at Zenobia again. Fine, Zenobia said while she reclothed the sword. I guess I do have to explain why we are here since we are going to be living here, Irina started. The first reason is that Excalibur was stolen by one of the fallen angel leaders, Kokabiel. Hey, Irina, is it really okay to tell them this? Ikinas asked. Yay, and also what's the second reason? I thought the only reason we were here was to get the Excaliburs, Zenobia added. To their questions, Irina let out a light chuckle and said, the second reason, the most important reason, is to finally see Issei again. She then jumped on me and wrapped me in a hug. Do this. All the other girls were looking at us like unknown creatures that they have never seen before. Irina, can you let go now? I asked. Ah, you're so mean. We haven't seen each other in so long and you're giving me the cold shoulder. Is it because of the Citri girl right there? If it is, I will gladly dispose of her now. Irina responded with an evil-looking grin. Wait, first of all, how did the Excaliburs get stolen? Sona asked. To her question, Irina finally let go of me and answered, apparently, Kokabiel has joined forces with a terrorist group called the Chozo's Brigade. Because of that, they snuck in and stole the Excaliburs and gave them to Kokabiel. Why he did it, however, is still unknown. At this, Sona nodded her head in understanding okay, but before she could finish her sentence, Irina interrupted her. Now that I've answered your questions, you have to answer mine. Why is Issei a devil? She asked while looking at Sona with the most insane-looking eyes you could ever imagine. Sona, while being disturbed by her gaze, still answered normally. He was about to die from a fallen angel because he had the boosted gear, so I saved him by reincarnating him into a devil. Irina looked at me to try and see what I thought about this, but figured that I would be fine since if I really wanted out I could handle myself. Also, just one more question, what is your relationship with Issei? She asked with an even more insane-looking glare. What do you mean it's only master to servant or like friend to friend? We're not like that yet. Very well then. Since we'll all be living here, let's try to get along, okay? Irina said. To this, everyone left to do their own thing until it was around 9 o'clock at night. They say, come with me for a bit, Irina called out. We both then went outside on a walk in silence for a while until she finally spoke up. I'm surprised that you found someone that you care even a little bit about. That's not me. When we were younger, my parents had been going on business trips much more than they do now. They were partially never home. Because of that, my uncle had to watch over me, and since Serena's parents also left home a lot, he watched over us both when we were younger. When he first met us, I still remember what happened. Flashback. My mom and dad had both just left the house and left off my uncle, who looked like your average person, but I felt that he was a bit weird and I couldn't exactly figure out why. Issei, Irina, I have a question for that both of you, he started. You have heard about the killer on the news, correct? Do you think that what he's doing is right or wrong? Wrong, Irina and I answered together. But what if this person was killing only that bad people, people that have done unforgivable things to other people? To that Irina and I didn't know how to respond. We were fairly smart for our age. But this question was too much for our younger selves to answer. Sure enough, he was killing bad people. But does that justify killing your troubled expressions? My uncle let out a small grin. If you guys would like, I can teach you how to survive in this horrible world. To that our younger selves agreed, not knowing what we put ourselves into. From that day on, he trained us every single day. By the time Irina and I were 9, we could both solve almost any equation out there. And while Irina kept her human feeling due to her affection toward me, I started to lose mine, becoming emotionless. Also, when we were 9 years old, we both knew martial arts very well and could fight with my uncle to an even match or better. By the time we were 10, however, something happened. Irina was going to be moving away. Our parents had no idea what my uncle was teaching us, so my uncle decided to have one last get-together. After this meeting, you will both be graduating, he started in a serious tone. Do you guys remember that very first task I gave you? The one that I said would be the hardest and would take the most time. This Irina and I both nodded to find out who the killer is that has been here since the first day we met. I answered. Well, do you both have your answer? He asked with a grin. To that Irina and I both pointed out fingers at him. It's you, Irina said. That's correct. I am the killer, he said with a smile. Do that, all of us just stood there in silence. But after a while, my uncle spoke up. I'm going to turn myself into the police after this as well. This completely shocked Irina and I, but I kept my composure while Irina started lashing out. Why? I know you're a killer, but you only kill bad people, so you shouldn't have to do this. You know that they'll execute you. Irina cried out. Is that your answer to the first question I gave you? Then I say, what's your answer? I looked at him in the eyes before responding. I think both are right, you killed people, but you only killed bad people. In a sense, you are right and wrong, there is no correct answer. Do this, my uncle started laughing. Yes, that is correct to say, but the right answer for me may be different from the right answer for you. I'm turning myself in because I have killed everybody that has done terrible things in this town. I have fulfilled my role and now have 2 successors. Irina started crying while I kept my cool. Even though we found out he was the killer fairly quickly, that did not make him a bad person. In the beginning, the training he put us through felt like hell, but now we were grateful to him for what he had done for us. With that, he took his leave. On the news the next morning they announced they had found the killer and executed him to atone for his murders. To that Irina was crying on the couch while I sat next to her with my hand on her head. Irina, don't forget that this was his decision, I said. I know, it's just that they don't know how nice he was, Irina replied back while still crying. Remember though, he said that while to us he was a nice person, to others he was a murderer that killed indiscriminately. When I said that, Irina started crying into my shirt while I hugged her back. After that day, Irina and her family finally left, leaving me all alone in this town where nobody would ever understand me. End of flashback. I finally found someone that I can relate to, even if it's only a little bit. Of course I'd like her, I said. So Sona Citri thinks like you and I, Irina responded. With that, we finished our walk and came back home. However, there was someone leaning against the door. Who are you? Irina called out. I am the White Dragon Emperor. With that, the figure came out of the shadows with a big grin on her face. She had long white hair and a rather large bust too. Greg mentioned something like this before. Apparently, the Red Dragon Emperor was the arch-rival of the Wild Dragon Emperor, since they have always been fighting each other. Even before they were sealed into sacred gears. I'm assuming you're not here to fight, I said casually. Since he didn't attack me right away, I figured he wanted to talk or maybe even just introduce herself. That's correct, Red Dragon Emperor. I am Vali Lucifer. I came here just to see what my rival looked like and what not. I must say I was pretty sad when I found out that you were only a just reincarnated devil. But your eyes tell me that there may be more to you than it looks, she said while looking me in the eyes. I may say hi too. Now can I go inside my house? Sure, I only came to see what you were all about after all, but we may be fighting soon, so be ready for that. With that, she took away with her devil wings. So she's the heir of the original Lucifer, I thought. I looked at Irina, who looked super pissed, but I calmed her down, and we finally went inside only to see Sona, Zenobia, and Ichino's waiting on the couch for us. I say, Irina, please sit down for a moment, Sona said. We took out seats, and then Sona continued speaking again. After school tomorrow, we are to all meet up inside the Occult Research Club room school. Since members of the church are here and this town is under Gremry territory, you have to introduce yourselves and explain why you are here straight to them. Nobody really seemed pleased about this except Ichino's. I've never met a Gremry before. I can't wait, she said excitedly. After that discussion, I went up into my room only to realize both Irina and Sona were following me. Are you both planning on sleeping in my room? I asked. They both nodded their heads at that. Well, then at least none of you are going to have to sleep on the floor. My bed is barely large enough for 2 people. When I said that, both of them started arguing, which I tuned out while I grabbed a futon mattress out of the closet and laid it in my room. Then I laid in my bed and finally started going to sleep, but that was when I felt 2 more people get on the bed as well. You got to be kidding me, I thought. Of course, it was Irina and Sona. I guess they reached a conclusion that they both could sleep there, even though I told them there would not be enough space. Sona was sleeping right in front of my face, and Irina was sleeping on top of me. I tried to push Irina off, but in response to that she hugged me with a super hard grip and was clearly not letting go. How did it get to this? I wondered before I finally fell asleep. You cannot be serious, was the first thing I thought as I woke up. Both Sona and Irina were still sleeping, but Sona was using me as a body pillow and Irina was using my face as her own pillow. Somehow I managed to get out of bed and wake up Sona. Hey, we got to go, I said quietly. Sona wakes up and then gets out of bed. I go downstairs while Sona gets ready for school, only to realize Ichino's is up as well. Good morning, she says in her normally happy voice. Morning, I replied back. I start making some breakfast before she calls out to me, Issei, you and Irina are geniuses, aren't you? Well, that came out of nowhere, I thought. What makes you think that? I say while I wait for my toast to be done. She says while staring at me. Did Irina really tell her that we're geniuses? She is the type of person to go above and beyond when she does show off, but she wouldn't do it for no reason. Just a guess, she says with a smile on her face. She has really good intuition, I thought. Finally, everybody woke up and I was eating my breakfast downstairs with everybody else at the table with me. Apparently, Mom and Dad left for a trip really early this morning, so I don't know when they'll be back. After a while, Sona and I leave and head for school together, but then Irina called out, Wait to say, where are you going? The school, I replied. I knew what a reaction would be, so I wanted to avoid bringing it up, but it seems I have no choice. School. Irina then started dying of laughter. Well, we're gonna go, bye, I said. Wait, Irina says as she tries to regain her breath. I'll go as well. We have to be there after school anyway, so I'll be a student checking out the school. That works out fine, Sona said, and with that, the 3 of us took off to school. Let me introduce a new student that will be viewing today. Everyone meet Irina Shudu, Sei-sensei called out. Whoa. Boys and girls called out alike. She was definitely a beauty, so it made sense why everyone was all over her. While she was doing our greetings, one thing that bothered me now was the fact that Horikita was now sitting right next to me for some reason. Sensei said that there's no use in having two-person desks with only one person sitting at each, so we have to sit next to each other now, Horikita said quietly. Okay. That's enough, Sei-sensei said to quiet the class. Arena, please have a seat. She then went over to one of the empty desks. Everybody expected her to sit down, but to everyone's surprise, she grabbed the seat and put it right in between Horikita and I. She really gets jealous easily, I thought. Irina, would you mind please sitting at a desk with only one person, Sei-sensei said. Everyone was glaring daggers at me and Horikita, especially the perverted duo. In that case then Horikita can move, she said happily with a grin. Everyone said. You know what, fine, you can sit in between them. Just don't cause any more issues, Sei-sensei said. With that, Irina took her seat and didn't even bother listening to what the teacher was saying. All she did was look at me and poke me in the arm all class. And then finally lunch arrived. Hey Issei, what do you want to eat? Irina asked while we made our way down to the cafeteria. I don't know yet, I responded. Irina was thinking about what she wanted when we ran into Rias and the rest of her peerage. Oh, Akeno called out. PCH, more devils, Irina spat quietly. I waved to them and started making my way to the lunch line with Irina behind me. But then Rias called out to me. I know I said that you may not be as dumb as you look, but that does not mean that you can just ignore us like that. And with that, she dug her own grave. Irina was already on edge enough having Sona around, and now you bring up the time you called me dumb. Irina then made her move. Hi. Nice to meet you. I'm Irina Shudu. What's your name? Oh. You must be new here. I'm Rias Gremory. Nice to meet you, Rias said with a grin. I've heard about you from Missy quite a lot actually, Irina said with a grin of her own. Then Rias started blushing. What did he say about me? You realize I'm right here? I thought. What he said was a secret, and with that Irina came back to me laughing. Why that insolent little brat? Rias yelled under her breath. Rias, she is new to the school. Not everybody knows you are the head of the Gremory clan, Akeno said, clearly disappointed with how she responded. I know, but still why is she so close to Rias wondered aloud. Irina and I grabbed our food and sat down at a table. A few moments later the occult research clubs joined us. Mind if we sit with you? Rias asked. I shook my head while continuing eating. Irina was clearly not happy about it, but she let it slide. We ate in silence for a while before Akeno spoke up. So how do you know, say Irina? Since Irina was really heated up right now, I answered for her. We're childhood friends. To this, Rias and Akeno's eyes lit up with surprise and jealousy. So you guys go way back, Akeno said slightly disturbed. Yay, but we haven't really seen each other in a while so we have only been catching up, I lied. Do this? Both Rias and Akeno seemed to have calmed down, but in return, I seemed to make Irina even madder. Lay cool right now, I can't afford to lose Akeno just yet, I whispered into Irina's ear. Irina didn't respond, but she understood, so she didn't do anything else. But that lunch ended and we all went back to class. The second half of the day proceeded just like the first, with Irina only bothering me and not paying attention at all. That's when Irina and I both headed down to the Occult Research Club to actually introduce everyone. When we arrived, Sona and Tsubaki were there with Ichinos and Zenobia. Rias seemed shocked to see Irina again, but kept herself under control. We all sat down on the couches except for Rias, who sat in a chair behind a desk, and Akeno, who was standing behind her. We, at the church, have come here in order to retrieve the stolen Excalibur fragments. All we ask for is that you do not interfere with this mission at all, Zenobia said sternly. With the exception of Issei, Irina chimed in. Why am I involved in this? I thought, what does Issei have to do with this though? Sona asked. Well, even if he is a devil, he is also the Red Dragon Emperor, and we need all of the help that we can get, so will you do it for us? Pretty please. Irina pleaded. No, I responded. Irina scoffed at this, but then said something else. I'll owe you a favor if you help us out. Deal? I said without hesitation. Even though Irina and I were on the same team, that didn't mean we had the same goals, so if one of us owed the other a favor, then they would have to do it over their own mission at the current time. Wait, this is my territory. If I want to intervene then I can, Rias said, trying to show her authority. Irina let out a small laugh and added, You just don't get it, do you? If you help out with this, you will basically be starting the next holy war. I can't believe you can't even see that some leader you are. After she said that, Rias was visibly angry and started to let her aura flare, but to her surprise, Akeno stood in front of her. Rias, put down your aura. Are you seriously siding with them? Don't forget I'm your master. She yelled out. Perfect, now just a little more, Irina thought. I glanced over at Irina, who had a scary grin on her face. She was one scary person. We don't want to jumpstart the next war by attacking members of the church. And don't forget, you represent Surges as well, so don't make rash decisions, Akeno yelled back. How about we have a duel then? Kiba said while getting in between them. Damn, you pretty boy, Irina thought. I'm fine with that. If you win then we won't interfere, but if I win then the brat over there and to apologize and we can do whatever we want, Rias said. At this point, both Akeno and Kaneko were eyeing Rias with disappointment. Their normally so-called nice master was now yelling and throwing a tantrum after being insulted instead of handling it like an adult. Hiba, however, had a different look in his eyes, one of pure hatred, while laying the clothed sword on the back of Zenobia. I am fine with it, Zenobia said, and with that, we made our way outside the old school building. I will be the referee of this game, and I will also have a barrier around us to feel free to let loose, just don't get too out of hand. Do that, both Kiba and Zenobia nodded. 321 go. Sona yelled out. Zenobia had her sword unclothed. It was a long and wide silver sword with black and red silver markings in the middle. Fiba summoned a sword out of thin air that looked to be made of ice. Boy, Drade, what sacred gear is that? I asked. If I had to guess, it would probably be Sword Birth, their ability to make any sword. Okay, thank you, I said before going back to the fight. They were both just standing there before Kiba finally made his move. Ah! He yelled while charging at Zenvoya super quickly, but something wasn't right. Although Kiba was going super fast, he was going faster than when he was training with me before the battle with Riser. He needs to calm down or else he'll lose fairly quickly, I thought. Zenobia bet his sword head on and destroyed the sword. TCH, Kiba said before making a sword out of fire and ice. I will never forgive the Excalibur, he said before charging at Zenobia. How's it the sword fault? I wondered, but then figured that he needed to blame something, so he might as well blame the sword. This time Zenobia didn't meet the sword head on and dodged it. She then threw off her robe and revealed a black latex suit that connected tightly to her body, so continued to dodge Kiba's attacks until he finally backed off for a second. Okay. My turn to attack, Zenobia said with a grin. With that, she charged at Kiba, but instead of hitting him or his sword, she hit the ground. Then there was a massive earthquake or something that felt like one. The ground where the sword hit was now a giant crater with Kiba in the middle of it. Is that enough? I think it's obvious who will win, Zenobia said. It's not over yet. Kiba yelled while summoning a sword just as big as Zenovia's sword and charged at him. Cool, she said. No matter what sword you use, it's no match for my Excalibur of Destruction, not to mention you threw away the one advantage you had, which was your speed. But that using the back of her sword, she went behind Kiba and before he could react knocked him out using the back of her sword. I looked over at Rias, who looked completely devastated at her defeat. Fine. We won't interfere with whatever you're doing, she said defeatedly. Irina was taking in the side of Ria's face as she lost when it seems like she came up with an idea. She turned to me with a wicked grin on her face. We should have a fight too, we haven't fought each other since we were younger. To that, everyone looked over at me to see what my response would be. No, I have no desire to fight you, I responded. Don't tell me you scared to fight me? Dumbass, I thought. Of course, you not only fight with an Excalibur, but you also have been fighting way more than I have, there's no way I would win. I lied. In truth, I could probably beat her fairly easily with or without the Excalibur. I just don't want other people to be watching. Irina looked even more devastated than Rias at me turning her down for a fight. Well, let's not get too hateful. Ichina spoke up with her usual grin. Both parties were being a little hasty, so let's just pretend that those instances never happened, okay? Rias didn't say anything but looked angry. No one from her peerage said anything though, since they were all worried about Kiba. Then Sona took down the barrier and came to us with Tsubaki behind her. I know about the terms of your agreement, but if by any chance Kokabiel takes direct action, we will have no choice but to interfere, Sona said. That's fine. If he attacks us directly, then you can help out. If not, then stay out, Zenobia said. Wait, Kiba, where are you going? Akeno asked as Kiba finally woke up. He started leaving. I need to be alone for right now. Just let me be, Kiba responded. Kiba, get back here right now. You are my knight, and you have to stay by my side. Rias yelled. Rias, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but you need to relax, Kiba said coldly. Rias flared in anger before yelling, "If you leave, I'll report you as a stray." Kiba, Akeno, and Kaneko all froze at what she said. "Wait, sorry, I didn't mean that," she said, defeated. "No, it's fine, you're really just like all the other devils, right? You only see us as tools," Kiba said before leaving. Rias then broke down crying and ran away. I looked over at Irina only to see her with the most twisted-looked grin ever at watching the side of Rias' peerage fall apart. "That's what you get for insulting Issei, you spoiled brat. Don't make the same mistake again," Irina thought. Sona and Tsubaki chased after her while Akeno and Kaneko were still stunned by what Rias had said to Kiba. "Stay here and don't do anything dumb," I said while giving her a cold glare. "What do you mean? You were aiming for doing this the whole time, correct?" Irina responded. I didn't respond, and then I headed toward Akeno and Kaneko. At this point Akeno started breaking into tears. "Issei, what should we do?" she asked while tears streamed down her face. Of course, when people have served their whole life, they have a harder time making decisions on their own. So what I have to do now is to become their new king, I thought. I think you should let her be for right now, wait and see what she has to say later. If she apologizes sincerely to you guys, you should forgive her. If she doesn't, then you need to show that you're not okay with it. Just don't forget, no matter what happens, I'll be on your side. After all, we are friends, right? I said. This Kaneko started to tear up a little bit as well. "Thank you, Issei," Akeno said. "Thank you," Kaneko added. After that, I let them be and started going home with Irina. "I know what I did was pretty messed up, but what you did could be considered worse." Irina started. "I only finished up what you have started, but you are basically on par, if not greater than Rias in both of their minds." "I guess you are right," I replied. "I did say that I thought of them as friends, but in reality, they were only really useful for getting control of Rias. The only people I truly considered my friends are Irina and Sona." We finally made our way back home when Irina started speaking as we entered the house. "Tomorrow we will start looking for the Excaliburs, just so you know. I have schools, so you're going to have to wait until I'm done with that." "I still can't believe you actually are going to school," she said with a small laugh. I didn't respond though, as I laid down in bed with Irina next to me. "Rias, it's already over for you. Remember that Irina and I are not the only predators. There are more than you haven't even realized," I thought before going to bed. "Sona." I chased after Rias with Tsubaki behind me as we tried to catch up to her. "Rias, wait up!" I cried out. Rias finally stopped and collapsed on her knees with tears strolling down her face. What should I do?" she asked teary-eyed. I sat down next to her and let her cry her heart out until she finally stopped, while Tsubaki still stood. "Sona, I really messed up, didn't I?" Rias said sadly. "Of course, but remember that you are still their king," I replied. "What do you mean?" Rias asked. Whenever Rias needed advice, she always asked me, since even when they were younger, I was always the smarter one. "What I'm saying right now is that you need to still stay strong. Right now your servants are clearly very upset with you, but you need to stay strong and apologize. If you start apologizing like crazy or start breaking down in tears, you are going to lose everything, since they'll think that you are too weak-willed to do anything. You need to remind them that you are a strong leader," I said. After a while of thinking, Rias considered it, but finally reached a conclusion. "You're right, Sona, I can't be crying to them every time I mess up. I'll apologize, but I won't lose my cool. I'll talk to them tomorrow about it." With that, she got up and flashed me a grin. "Thank you." She then took off. After that, Tsubaki and I sat there in silence until I finally broke the silence. "How did he know?" I said with a slight laugh. "So on the wake up," Issei called out. I checked the time. It was currently 2:36 in the morning. I looked back at him, who had Irina laying right on top of him. Tomorrow there is going to be a scene where Rias runs away crying after a duel. Most likely it will be a duel between Irina and I, but in case someone else starts it, that's how it will be. When she runs away, I need you to follow her and tell her to stay strong as the president. Make sure you still tell her to apologize, but make sure that she remains how she has been lately," he whispered. "What are you talking about? Why would any of that happen?" I responded. "Just trust me. I need you to tell this to your queen as well, so she knows what's going on." At this, I smiled. So this is your newest scheme you have going. I still don't know exactly what he was after, but I still went with it anyway. Sure, I responded, but in return, you owe me something, okay? Fine, Issei responded back quietly. After that, we both went back to sleep, and the next morning I told Tsubaki about it at school, flushed back over. He truly is a monster, Tsubaki added in. But just what does he want? It sounds to me that he just wanted me to give her good advice. But knowing him, that can't be the case, I wondered aloud. No point thinking about it now, I guess we'll just have to see what the future holds, Tsubaki said. I guess we will, I said with a grin. When I woke up the next morning, I was once again cramped in my own bed, thanks to Irina and Sona. I got up though and shook Sona awake. After which we had breakfast and went to school. Well, I'll see you later, Issei, Sona said, after she said that. I made my way to our own class and sat next to Horikita. Is Irina going to be joining us again today? She asked dreadfully. No, I replied. The rest of school went by without any interruptions, and since school ended it was time to hunt the exorcist. As I was leaving back to my house, a thought came to my mind. I wonder if Ria's peerage has fallen apart yet. Ria's POV. It was now after school and everyone except Kiba was in the room with me. Akeno and Kaneko were barely speaking and looked very tense. Well, here goes nothing, I thought. Akeno and Kaneko, please listen to me. Akeno and Kaneko promptly turned their head to look at me. Right before I started continuing, I remembered what Sona said to me the other day to stay a strong leader while apologizing. I took a deep breath and continued. I know that we are worried about Kiba, and I'm sorry about what I said. With that being said, though, we will wait for him to return on his own. He is my cute servant after all. I expected to see a look of relief on their faces, but instead, I got one of pure disgust. Why are they looking at me like that? I thought. Riaz, I truly am very disappointed in how you have been lately. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you need to really calm down. Akeno said. Deeba's our friend and he could be dying right now. Do you seriously want us to leave him to die? Kaneko added in. I was speechless. Now that they had worded it that way, it seemed a lot worse than it was. I am sorry if that was the impression that you got of what I said. I started. I want Kiba to solve his issues and then be able to come back to us. However, I need to not make any rash decisions and choose what is right for all of us. Then their look of disgust turned into one of pure hatred. I can't believe your Aries. Akeno yelled as she left the room. Issei was right about what he said, Kaneko said as she left. After they left, I sat at my chair, my head in my hands. What Issei said? Does that mean he told them this would happen? But then there's what Sona told me. Wait. Did they both set me up? As the thought was in my head, the more and more it made sense. But why? I never did anything to them. Why do I deserve this? I said while I started crying. Just then, though, a grimy crest had opened up in the middle of the room, and out of it came my older brother, Circeus, and his queen Graphia. Rios, what's wrong? He said while he came rushing up to me. I told him everything that had just happened and what my suspicion was. You think Sona would really do that? Circeus wondered, but he decided to take my side still since I was his sister. All right. I'll call everyone over so we can clear this mess up. Graphia, please get his and Sona. I will get Akeno and Kaneko. But that everybody left with me still crying in my hands. Zenobia, Irina, Ichinos, and I were talking about what we were going to do to solve this issue. So, do you know if anyone is working with Kokabiel? I asked. It's not confirmed yet, however, there's suspicion that he is working with a straight priest named Fried Selzen, Ichinos responded. So it was that guy from the church that the other club members fought, I thought. Well, I think then we should start by dragging him out and then interrogating him, I said. That works, Irina started. I've heard that he has been killing priests lately, so we could dress up like people of the church to draw him out. But that we all agreed on it. Ichinos quickly gave me some leftover church gear that wouldn't harm me by wearing it, and we took to the abandoned part of town where Irina said most attacks are happening. As we started walking for a while, we felt a very strong presence in the dark alleyway. It was so dark that we couldn't see who it was. That was fast, Irina said, bringing out her Excalibur mimic. Excalibur mimic was a sword that changed into whatever form the wielder wanted, so it was useful for Irina, who could adapt fairly quickly to things. Wait, this is Graphia's presence. I thought Irina stop, I said. Irina promptly stopped but waited for an explanation. Graphia was then fully out of the dark and was walking over to us. Issei, please come with me, Graphia said. Sorry, but we're kind of busy at the moment. Can this wait until later? Zenobia asked. Surzex ordered me that I summon you, so I'm afraid you cannot postpone this, Graphia replied. Surzex already found out. That was fast, I thought. All right, well, everyone, I'll take tomorrow off school so we can continue looking, I said. As soon as we were about to leave, however, we heard a loud yell come from the distance. Without hesitation, all the church girls quickly made their way to where the screaming was, which left Graphia and I alone. So what are you guys doing out here exactly? Graphia asked. I'm trying to find Kiba and they're trying to find the missing Excalibur parts, I replied. What I just said was a half-lie. The only reason I'm here is to help Irina out in exchange for a favor. But since I need all the appeal I can get right now, this makes me look better for what's about to come up. Graphia let out a sigh and flew up to follow the church girls, to which I followed. When we arrived, we found Kiba fighting Freed with Irina and the two other church girls to join Kiba to take down Freed. Shit, well, this doesn't look good. Freed yelled out, 3 members of the church and a piece of devil shit. I must admit I don't like my chances. Without hesitation, Irina started to attack when Kiba told her to stop. This is my fight, stay out of it. What are you talking about? You were clearly just losing a second ago, Irina responded. However, that's when Kiba noticed Graphia. Why are you here, Graphia? He asked. Rias said that his aunt Sona set her up so that all of her peerage would start hating her, Graphia responded. What? He yelled with a bit of confusion. Why would they have done something like that? We're having the trail to see if what she said was true in the first place. Fried was now getting annoyed that he was being ignored but didn't do anything since he knew he didn't stand a chance against Graphia. Well, since you have other problems, this is where I say go ODBOY, Efred said with a smirk. Hey, wait! Irina yelled. But as soon as she said that, he disappeared after throwing a flash grenade at everybody. God fucking damn it, she muttered under her breath. So much for being from the church, I thought. Well, now that those issues are settled, let's go to the Occult Research Club room. Sona is already there, Graphia said. Okay, you girls just go home for right now, I said emotionlessly to the church trio. They gave a nod and Graphia teleported Kiba and I to the Occult Research Club room. As soon as we arrived, we immediately realized how tense the air was around everybody. Surzekias was sitting next to Graphia on a couch, and across from them sat Sona and Tsubaki. Kaneko and Akeno were behind Rias, although they didn't seem like they were enjoying it too much. However, Rias was the first one to speak up when she saw Kiba. Kiba, you're okay? Rias said happily. However, Kiba didn't respond and sent her back a forced smile and stood next to Kaneko and Akeno. Alright, now that we all are here, let's begin, Sergicius said. I took a seat next to Sona and Graphia stood behind us. Issei, Sona, you both are being accused of forcing Ria's peerage to start falling apart, Sergicius continued. Akeno, Kiba and Kaneko's faces jerked when they heard that, clearly upset but also wanting to learn more. Okay. So can you explain then what happened? Sona asked calmly. Well, according to Rias, Sona told her to keep being a strong leader without being weak-willed, and Issei told Akeno and Kaneko to only accept her apology if she does the opposite, Sergicius said. For my part, I can attest to having told Rias that. However, you make it sound like I was forcing her to say those things when I only gave advice, Sona replied. Sergicius then looked at me, prompting an explanation. I only told Akeno and Kaneko to accept her apology if they felt that it was truly sincere. I did tell them also, though, to not let Rias boss them around, and that if her apology didn't seem sincere, then to show that they weren't okay with it. Rias looked very angry while Sergic has found himself in a conflicted situation. I want to believe my sister, but there's no actual proof that what these two said are connected to each other aside from being part of the same period, Sergicius thought. Sergicius then looked at Akeno, wanting to attest to whether what he said was true or not. What he said was true, I swear by it, Akeno said. The room was then silent for a while when Rias spoke up. Kiba, why exactly were you with Issei? She asked. Kiba didn't exactly know why we were there either, so he just said, I don't know. That was when Grafia spoke up. Issei was looking for Kiba. This made Rias and Sergiches look shocked. I guess then Rias just did make a mistake by herself, Sergiches thought. Well, I suppose then, Sergiches started but was then interrupted when a girl with black hair and twin tails slammed open the door wearing a magical girl outfit. I didn't know who that was, so I looked at Sona, who looked mortified. Hey! The girl started. Why is my little cute Sona being held in court? Well, Serafo, we will explain that to you in a minute if you can just sit down, Sergiches said. Wait, so this is Sona's older sister? I thought to myself before looking at Sona again. This time Sona realized that I was looking at her, felt embarrassed to her very core. Seraphil didn't say anything but made her way over to the couch we were on. When she made her way over, she realized that she couldn't sit next to Sona and looked at me with eyes that said move. I was about to move when Sona spoke up. You can sit next to him. He's important in this, so he can sit next to me. This caused Seraphil's eyes to go wide. Never before had Sona ever openly told her no. She may complain about things, but she never actually told her no. You're so mean. She then started crying. Is he the boy's house you moved into? I haven't seen you in forever because of him. The room went silent after that. You're joking, we were about to win, and you just had to say that. I thought. You mean they're living together? Sergiches asked. Yay, Seraphil responded as she calmed down. Sona looked pissed at what her sister had done, since now we were in a more troublesome position. The best thing for us now is a tie, I thought. Ria said aloud, so you guys did set me up. You just discussed it at Issei's house. Like I said before, we never spoke about it before and there's no proof that we even did, Sona replied. Seraphil then grudgingly sat next to me and listened in while she connected the dots about what was happening. After a while of them going back and forth, I finally spoke up. Well, I only gave them the advice in the first place since Rias told Kiba that if he were to run away, he'd report her as a stray. I couldn't have known that would have happened, I said to the surprise of Sergiches. What are you talking about? Rias yelled, we all know you are super cunning, so it would make sense. While it is true that I am smart and cunning, that does not give me the power to see into the future, unfortunately, I replied. Then the room was filled with silence until Sergex spoke up. Well, since there is a possibility that both sides are lying, I will declare that this is a tie. What? Why? You're supposed to be on my side. Rias started yelling. The witch Sergex gave her a cold glare and said, Rias, while you are my sister and I care for you greatly, I cannot foul other households on something that we have no evidence on. Yay. Seraphil spoke up. And if by any chance you did blame Sona for this, I would take you all on right here. Everyone looked at her while Sona looked away with embarrassment. Well, I guess that's all. Dismissed, Sergiches said. I started leaving the room with Sona to walk home. As we were in front of our house, another magic circle popped up, and out of it came Grafia. May I talk to you both for a moment? She asked. I nodded and we went upstairs into my room only to find Irina going through all of my stuff. Hey, you're back already, Say, she said nervously. I sighed and prompted her to get out when Grafia spoke up. Actually, it would be beneficial for you to stay here as well. But that Grafia sat down in my chair at my desk while the three of us sat down on my bed. First of all, allow me to congratulate you on winning the trial, she said. She knows, I said to myself. The room then went silent for a minute until Grafia spoke up. While it was a tie, you guys still won because you accomplished your objective, right to say? Irina yelled, so you finally broke it. Sona figured that they were in massive trouble since they had been found out. Grafia, realizing this, spoke up. I will not tell Sergiches about this, so you don't have to worry, Grafia said. Wait, why? Sona asked. Grafia then flashed a small smirk and looked at me because has interested me. Sona's face blushed a little bit, but she mostly kept herself together. Irina, on the other hand, was about to pull out her Excalibur before we had to stop her. So why exactly? Irina asked angrily. Well, it's not every day you meet someone as smart and cunning as Issei. He will most definitely be one of the strongest beings ever, Grafia added with the same smirk. So it's not one of romantic interest. Irina started. Oh, I get it now, you want to worship him. Don't worry, I'll let you join me, she said with a laugh. Maybe I do, but who knows? She replied back, making Irina go back to her angry mode. So why did you want to talk to us? I asked. Now that you have succeeded in Ria's peerage falling apart, what do you plan to do? Grafia asked with curiosity. That right? Even though we had tied with the trail, I had still succeeded in having Ria's peerage fall apart. I did so by having the trail drag on, so they can see how Ria's truly is when she is in a pinch. I was able to confirm this by checking their reactions at the end of the trial. I don't know, I replied. Grafia could obviously tell that I was lying, but did not say anything about it. Well, I am going to be leaving now, Issei. Take care, she said and disappeared. Then both Irina and Sona looked at me. I knew why they were, but I changed the topic. Hey Sona, what would happen if we were to mix holy and devil powers? This Sona seemed a bit confused why I would be asking such a thing, but answered anyway. Well, you would create an explosion, the size of which would vary based on how much power you put in, but it could be deadly no matter what. So don't try it. Irina then flashed me a grin and I nodded back at her. Well, we should probably take our bath now. Sona, why don't you go first this time? Issei and I went first the last few times, Irina said with a smile. But that Sona left, and Irina faced me with a devilish smile on her face. Now you ready for it? We then went into our basement, which didn't have many things, but just in case there was an explosion, many things wouldn't be destroyed. So why do you want to do something like this? Irina asked. There's something that has been bothering me for a while. I started ever since I got my boosted gear. People have told me how strong it was and that it was a long Inus, which are errors in the sacred gear system made by God. So I thought, why hasn't he fixed this issue? After all, the long Inus were called sacred gears that could kill gods, I replied. So you mean to tell me that you think God is incapable of fighting or dead? Asked Irina. No, I assume he is dead. After all, the angel numbers are just as low as the demons, and they also seem to have a hard time making pure-blooded angels from what I've heard as well, I said. I thought Irina wouldn't take too well from what I said, figuring that her family was from the church. However, I was wrong. Well, if that's what you think, you're probably right. I mean, you are the smartest being in existence, she said. She has quite high hopes for someone like me. We haven't even met the strongest in the world of angels and devils, and you're calling me the smartest, I thought. Well, let's do this, Irina said as she brought out Excalibur Mimic. I then focused my energy on the blade and slowly started pushing it in the blade, but to my surprise, instead of blowing up, it just lingered there, not for mixing, but not going away either, so it didn't blow up, which most likely means that I was right, I figured. After all, directly mixing holy and devil energy would cause an explosion since they are opposing energies. However, if you were to somehow find a way to indirectly mix them, like placing them both into an object, you could get your answer there. By an explosion not happening, this means I was right, God was dead, so the fact that the two energies didn't blow up when they met the sword means that God can't maintain the balance between the forces. Irina had a smile on her face as she looked at me. I guess you are the smartest. I then got up and started heading upstairs with Irina. Irina, you don't have to pretend to be happy about this, you know, I said emotionlessly. Irina didn't say anything right away and kept walking, but she soon said in a somewhat sad voice, well, since it's already happened, there's nothing we can do about it. We then waited for Sona to finish her bath, and then took out turns taking our own. Then finally went to bed. Or so I thought, because soon after someone started ringing our doorbell like crazy. Irina got up and was very angry since someone interrupted her cuddle time with me. When she opened the door, she immediately called my name, and Sona and I both rushed there only to find a crying Seraphel. Sona, I looked all over for you forever, you know. I can't believe you just decided to leave our house like that. She then started bawling her eyes out while Sona just looked away in embarrassment. We all just stood there waiting for her to stop, and when she finally did, she spoke up again in her usual bubbly voice. So Sona, are you ready to come back home yet? I told you in the letter I'm living here now, so please leave. She said, embarrassed. But that's not a problem. She started to then put her hand up in the sky, summoning a magic circle while a whole bunch of luggage coming out. If you're living here, I'm living here too. She then invited herself in. We don't have enough rooms for you to stay here, I said. That's fine. I'll just share a room with Sona, she said happily. Shit. If she finds out that Sona's sleeping in my room. So what room is she in, Issei? Seraphil asked. As she asked that question, Zenobia and Ichinos came down out of their rooms to see what all the noise was. Oh, Sona sleeps in Issei's room, Zenobia said bluntly. Then Seraphil turned her head slowly at me. Seraphil was definitely a big yandere toward anyone who she deemed unworthy to be super close to Sona. Luckily for me though, I had my own yandere who appeared in front of me with Excalibur Mimic. The two had to stare down for a bit before Ichinos spoke up. While it is true Sona sleeps in Issei's room, Issei actually sleeps on the couch down here, Ichinos lied. Starfall turned toward me for confirmation, to which I nodded to without the slightest bit of emotion on my face. Well, I guess that's okay. Sona and I can sleep together then, Seraphil said cheerfully. From that day forward Seraphil decided that she would start living in the house as well, but there was something that I still wondered. Wait, don't you want to know why the people of the church are here? I asked. No, I don't really care so long as they're not hurting Sona. She then marched her way upstairs after putting all of her luggage back into her magic circle. Later that night, I was watching TV until I was sure everyone was asleep, to which I went up to my room to ask Seraphil something. Since I didn't want to wake Sona, I decided to focus a little bit off killing intent at Seraphil, which Drake had recently taught me. Seraphil woke up instantly and realized that it was me sending it, and got out of bed. All of me, I whispered coldly, much to the surprise of Seraphil, who took me for a dumb aloof kid. We finally made it to the basement, and I finally spoke up. Can you promise me you will answer this next question honestly? I asked coldly. Seraphil's aura toward me shifted to a more serious manner once she heard how I was talking. Depends. Then see if you can answer this. Is God dead? I asked coldly while I moved closer to her face and stared at her directly in the eyes. She was a little bit smaller than me, but she still met my gaze and seemed surprised but quickly collected herself. How did you find that out? She asked. So he really is, I started. Well, that was all. You can go back upstairs now. Answer me as well, she said coldly. Does it matter how I found out? All that matters is that I know, I replied, still looking at her in the eyes. Then for some reason, she started to blush a little bit before finally, she stopped meeting my gaze. I guess not, but promise me this, you will not tell anyone about this, understood? She said in a somewhat stressed out voice. Well, Irina already knows since she helped me with finding out, I said. Seraphil sighed at that before looking at me again. Well, just don't go around telling people, okay? Plus, the fact that you found that out means that you truly are a genius, like Sona says. How much does she talk about me to other people? I wondered. I then started heading upstairs with her following. You know, you say, you can sleep in your room if you'd like, Seraphil said with a mischievous grin. What's with the change of heart? I asked. I know you, Irina and Sona have been sleeping in the same room. It was obvious from their reactions, but you never showed any emotion at all, so I couldn't tell from you. I looked back at her, then turned forward again. Fine, the couch on is uncomfortable anyway. Although I couldn't see it, this did but a small grin on her face. I finally made it upstairs and was sleeping in my own room, or was trying to anyway. Sona was still sleeping, but I was being sandwiched between the sleeping sisters. For once I wasn't being squished by people when I woke up. Seraphil was on one side of the bed and Sona was on the other. I then got up and went downstairs to get some breakfast. Today was Saturday, so I planned on trying to find other ways to lure Kokabiel out. From the info we had, it was clear he wants to start another war, so I guess then I could use Zarful to bait him out. But then the church doesn't want the demons involved in this, I thought. I quickly ate my breakfast and went outside on a walk when I ran into Akeno. Oh, hi there, Sei, she said in a somewhat sad voice. Oh, hi, Akeno, I replied back. Mind if I walk with you? She asked. Not at all, I said. We then walked in awkward silence until she finally spoke up, Issei, with what happened with Rias. Did you guys really set her up? I shook my head and answered, I have no reason for wanting to destroy your friendship. I just told you what I honestly believe you should have done, I said. Then Akeno went in front of me and turned around. I was just double-checking. I know you wouldn't do something like that, Issei, she said with a large smile. I looked at her for a while before I continued walking. We walked in silence for a while until Akeno asked me something again. Actually, the reason why I was walking in the first place was to meet up with you, she started. I would like you to come to my house right now if that's okay. Sure, I replied. It's not like I had anything better to do, so I just went with it. We then walked for around 10 minutes, and we were at a shrine, which surprised me since devils living at shrines didn't seem very logical. Don't worry, I have permission to live here, Akeno said. We then made our way into the house and sat down on a mat with a table in front of us. So why am I here? I asked bluntly. Someone would like to meet you, Akeno replied. Almost on cue, a magic circle glowing gold appeared in the air, and an angel came down out of it. Hello? You must be a say hi to Yes, the angel said nicely. Yes, I replied. Nice to meet you. I am Mikhail, one of the great seraphs of heaven. He started. As for why I have called you here, I have a gift for you, he said. We just met though. Isn't it too soon for a gift? Much less for Miss Seraph, I said, eyeing him suspiciously. Soon there will be a meeting held here for a global peace conference between the three factions. Surely, you have noticed the devils coming around to check the place out. So does that mean you guys will be able to help out with the Kokabiel situation? I asked. I do not know. For me, I will not be able to assist you as I have many matters in heaven to deal with currently. I imagine the same will be true with the demon kings and leaders of the Grigori, since we all have to be ready for the leaders' summit. Hopefully, we will be able to send some assistance, but not us directly, Mikhail said sorrowfully. I see, I said, but this may help you with your fight with Kokabiel, Mikhail said as he summoned a sword that immediately woke Drake up. Be careful, I say. That sword is very dangerous to us, Drake said internally. This sword is Ascalon, a dragon slayer sword, Mikhail said while handing it to me. That's why it feels so dangerous, I thought. What's unique about this sword though is that it can fuse with your sacred gear, Mikhail said. Drake, can you do it? I asked Drake. Let me try, Drake said. And just like that my sacred gear and Ascalon combined, and now the sword was coming out of the sacred gear. But you very much, I said emotionlessly. No problem, my child, Mikhail said with a grin. Well, I am afraid I will have to leave now. I wish you the best of luck. And with that, he disappeared into another gold magic circle. I then turned to look at Akeno, who seemed sad about something. What's wrong? I asked. Oh no, she started, but then she cut herself off, took a deep breath and started talking. I know that you had me come to terms with the fact that I'm a fallen angel, but I still don't feel right using it. Well, if that's the case then don't use it, I said. But didn't you want me to come to terms with it? She asked. Yes. For that battle only. I understand your past, however, it's up to you to accept yourself. Others can't do it for you, I replied. Akeno then let out a small blush with a grin on her face. I see, she said happily. With that, I took my leave after saying goodbye to Akeno and started walking home. I pulled out my phone and realized that I had missed 4 calls from Sona, and tried to call back only for her not to pick up. I quickly summoned a teleportation circle and went home since I could tell that this was not the time to be enjoying a walk. When I arrived home I saw Sona and all of the church girls except Irina looking super stressed out. Issei, you're back good, Sona said. Yay. Where were you? Irina said as she walked up to me. I was at Akeno's house, I said. Be aware, Irina said while looking me dead in the eyes. Relax, I didn't do anything. I did get a dragon slayer sword though, I said as I brought it out of my gauntlet. Whoa, that is Ascalon, Zenobia said. It's also a holy sword, Aquinas added on. I guess that's another reason I felt that this was so dangerous, I thought. Anyway, what's going on? I asked. Kokabiel sent a declaration of war out against the devils and angels. However, Azazel said the Kokabiel has gone rogue, thanks to us all trying to make peace. In compensation for that, he will send the necessary reinforcements to help, Sona said nervously. I guess that means Seraphil left then, I added. At first she refused, but then the other demon kings said they really needed her help with sorting out a lot of political issues in the underworld, Sona replied. I see, so when are we fighting him? I asked. Tomorrow, Sona said. Everyone went silent after that. Not even Irina, who normally wouldn't care, didn't speak. Well, nothing we can do about it. Let's take it easy today so we will be ready for tomorrow, I said. I went to go make some lunch when I noticed we were out of food. I'm going to the store. Anyone want anything? I'll go with you actually. It's better to be together than alone, Sona said. I nodded and then Sona and I left. Obviously, Irina wanted to go instead, but the other church girls held her back. When we arrived at the supermarket, I started putting things inside the cart, and Sona got things that she needed when I ran into Horikita again. Are you stalking me? She asked. No, why? I asked. Currently, Sona was still getting other things, so she wasn't here right now. Last time I was here I met you here and now I meet you again. How do you manage to always meet me here? She asked in a somewhat angry voice. I shrugged my shoulders. I don't know. She let out a sigh and started walking away when Sona came back with things. Issei, let's have this for dinner tonight, she said while handing me curry. Horikita then turned around and looked at me. So you're dating the student council president. It wasn't a better excuse I could think of, so I just said yay. Hearing this made Sona immediately go red. Even though she knew I was lying, just hearing me say that we were dating was making her blush hard. So you're lying, Horikita started while looking at Sona's reaction. You know, I always thought there was something up with you, Issei. You used to be a kid that nobody realized or acknowledged, but then you suddenly became the second student council VP. Hearing that Sona spoke up, you heard the reason though. I'm assuming Issei helped out a lot behind the scenes with things and helped us a lot with setting things up. You really think I believe that Issei is someone who is perfectly average? There is no way he would do something like that. If I didn't know any better, I'd think that you were closest pervert and blackmailed Sona into making you VP, Horikita said harshly. Whatever you may think, what I told you was the truth, Sona said. But that Horikita turned around and started leaving. Damn him, I swear there's something with him. Ever since we met I can't stop thinking of him, and the way he suddenly became VP just like that. There has to be something more, Horikita thought as she was leaving. After that, we bought out items and went home and watched TV and chatted for a while. Alright, is it time for dinner? Irina asked. Yeah, I'm starving, Achina said. Both of them started to make the curry, which smelled really good. After around 25 minutes we were all seated at the dinner table and started digging in. Even though everyone was laughing and having a good time, I could tell that they were all hiding what they were truly feeling, fear. After all, tomorrow they have to fight one of the fallen angel leaders. After we were all done eating we all took our baths and went to bed. Irina was of course sleeping right on top of me again, and Sona was sleeping right next to me. Tomorrow will be an interesting day, I thought. As the next morning came nobody was talking. We were all trying to think of the fight that was going to be happening later today. Sona, when and where is the fight going to be? Ikinus asked. He said he'll be fighting us at our school at midnight, Sona replied. No one spoke up again after that. It was already 12 o'clock and it would only be another 12 hours until the fight came. As the hours passed with us just killing time, it was finally time to head to the school. It was currently 10 p.m. so we had 2 hours to prep with everyone. When we arrived at the school gate, Kiba was there to meet us. Please come with me, he said with a smile. We then followed him into the occult research club room. Rias didn't look happy to see us one bit, while Kaneko and Akeno seemed happy, but they tried to hide it, so Rias wouldn't be mad. The rest of the student council was already there, and they all looked super nervous. Oh hi Sona, Sagi yelled as came running over. Hello Sagi, okay now that we are here let's talk strategy, Sona replied. Sagi was sad he had been shut down, but listened up anyway since he didn't want to be the reason everyone died. I'm not working with you, Rias yelled. Please put your suspicions behind for right now, this is a matter of life and death, so bear with it, Sona snapped back. Rias was about to say something, but Akeno spoke first. Of course, she said. Rias didn't seem happy, but she didn't try to interrupt again. The student council will hold a barrier to keep the humans safe that live around here safe. Rias Purge and Issei will go in and fight Kokabiel and his minions with the help of the church trio. Everyone agreed too that now it was just a matter of taking roles on what person would be fighting who, and Kiba was the first who spoke up. "I'll take down that psycho priest and destroy his Excalibur," he said angrily. "I thought he got over it." "Guess not," I thought. "It'll help with any other members of the church or other lackeys," Zenobia said, referring to her and Ichinos. "And that means the rest of us will take care of Kokabiel," Rias said. But that the room was in silence. Everyone was tense after the trial, so it made sense. I walked over to Kiba and asked, "Hey Kiba, why do you hate Excalibur so much?" "They took everything away from me. He started when I was younger. I was a part of the Holy Sword Project, where they would test children to see if they were or could be compatible with Excalibur, and after countless months of being experimented on they realized it was a bust, so they gassed everyone in the room. All of my friends had died and sacrificed themselves so that I could escape. That was when I found Rias and she saved me. Even though he was talking to me, it was so quiet that everyone else heard as well." "Wait, the Holy Sword experiment. I heard the guy who ran it was Valper Galilei. He was excommunicated from the church soon after," Zenobia said. "Valper Galilei," Kiba muttered under his breath. After that, it was back to silence. After 20 minutes from 12 o'clock, we all started getting ready to go, and we made our way to the back of the school where there was a big empty field. The student council members all were getting ready to put up the barrier while Sona walked over to me. "Issei," she said quietly. "Yes." "Please promise me you'll be okay," she said while some tears started coming out. I looked at her side and put my hand on her head and said, "Trust me, if I try nobody can beat me." "You mean it?" she asked. "Of course," I said back. "I'm only trusting those words because it's from you. I would normally never trust someone who says that," she said with a small grin. But that, she took her leave and said good luck Issei with a big smile. "Oh, so the student council president likes you," Kiba said. I looked at him and said maybe. We then waited until 12 o'clock and on cue, a giant magic circle appeared with a fallen angel coming out with 10 wings on his back. With him was Freed and some other church members I didn't know. "Valper?" Kiba yelled as he immediately summoned a pitch-black sword. "Oh, I remember you. Valper started the survivor of my genius experiment, Kiba, if I remember correctly." When he said that, Kiba charged right at him only to be interrupted by Freed. Now don't be impatient, he said with a grin. Kiba clicked his tongue and backed up. "Thanks to you guys we can now make artificial Excalibur wielders. However, after my success they banned me but still used my work to make artificial users." Valper yelled, "You bastard." Kiba yelled as Ichinos appeared with a holy sword that wasn't an Excalibur but still fairly strong, and Zenobia without her Excalibur. "Oh, since you are here you can have this back," Valper said as he threw something at Kiba. It looked to be a ball of sort with flying gold particles in it. "Those are your friends that we have collected." Biba then broke out in tears when Irina came next to me. "I remember I got something that looked similar to that when I joined the exorcist group of the church." I nodded and kept on watching only for Kokabiel to finally speak up. "I don't see any demon king here or seraph, instead they send me these brats," he yelled. "At least the baby sister of Sursages is here, so maybe if I chop her head off and hang it on the school, he'll make a move." Rias flared her aura at that. "I'd like to see you try." Rias calmed down and by time. "Sursages will be here in an hour, that's the fastest he can be here," Akeno said. "Wait. Why is he coming?" Rias asked. "I asked him," Akeno responded. "Why?" Rias yelled out. "Rias," Akeno started with a yell. "This is a life or death situation. I know you don't like bothering your brother, but this has to happen." "Oh? So Sursages will be coming?" Kokabiel said with an amused grin. "Damn, I figured that the assistants from the Grigori would be slow, but where are they?" I wondered. "Oh well, Valper gets started with the plan," Kokabiel yelled out. But that, a magic circle appeared that had nothing in it, just a bright magic circle. "With this, the whole town of Kwa will be blown up in 10 minutes. Better hope your brother comes quick," he yelled out. Diba then dashed toward the Valkyr again with Ichinos behind him with Zenobia chanting something, and then a giant golden sword came out of another dimension. What? Valkyrild has freed defended him from the two attackers. I haven't made the serum for Durandal yet. That's because I'm a natural user, she said with a grin. This Valper was surprised but kept his cool and kept working on the bomb that was going to blow up. How can he keep up with us? Kiba yelled as he and Aquinas jumped back. That's because I have 3 Excaliburs in one. Fried yelled out. Then Zenobia joined in the fight, and it became a 3 versus 1. Well, while I wait, I'll let you play with this puppy, Kokabiel said as he summoned a chair to sit on in the air. Then 3 magic circles appeared and 3 dogs came out, each with 3 heads. Cerberus. I thought he was sealed in hell. Rias yelled. I have my ways, Kokabiel replied with a smirk. Everyone except Akeno and I focus on Cerberus. Akeno and I will handle Kokabiel, Rias said. No, you won't, Irina said, walking over to Rias with a grin, and I will handle it. You can go focus on the mutts over there. What? Rias yelled. Akeno looked over at me to see what I had to say. Perfect. She will listen to me more than Rias, I thought. We'll take care of this, it'll be fine, I said emotionlessly. Rias, let's go, Akeno said. What are you talking about? I am the king and my orders are what we'll do. Rias snapped back. You know how strong Issei is. If he says he can do it, then he can. Akeno yelled back. Press take care of Cerberus. Kiba yelled from afar. Issei, you go. We got this, Kaneko said with a thumbs up. Irina couldn't help but smile at what was going on as Rias finally gave in and agreed fine. With the rest of the occult research club was focusing on Cerberus. With that, it left me and Irina with Kokabiel. Kokabiel looked down on us while Irina summoned hers caliber, and I summoned my boosted gear. Hopefully you haven't fallen off, Irina said with a smirk. I could say the same for you, the Red Dragon Emperor and an Excalibur user. Very well, let us play. But that the fight between us had begun, he instantly threw a light spear, and me and Irina dodged it light. It was nothing. Then I immediately flew up to him, grabbed his arm and threw him to the ground. Irina then used her sword, which started chasing him like a snake, and I joined the barrage of strikes against him, but he kept dodging the attacks. I then summoned the water blade and sent a trident in which he dodged, but then left Irina enough time to move in and kick him in the gut. Boost! Drake yelled. I quickly went in while his footing was off and got into a hand-to-hand fight, and we would continue to throw punches and block punches. I then kicked him square in the jaw after Irina then came in with her Excalibur to try and pierce him. He then flew into the air again with me in hot pursuit. He then summoned over 15 light spears and rained them down on me, which I all narrowly dodged, and I moved in and landed a much in the stomach. He yelled out as we both went back to the floor. It seems that you guys are no ordinary fighters. It seems that I will have to go all out. Right when he said that, he let out all of his aura while making all fighting elsewhere stop. They say you should stop playing around, you know, Irina said while she looked at me. I could say the same for you, I replied back. Yay, but I haven't seen you fight seriously in so long. She whined. Boost, so you haven't been going all out either? I must say I am having a great time. Kokabiel yelled out. With that, we changed one another. Irina was using her Excalibur to attack while I was using my hands and feet, which Kokabiel was now dodging easily. If you don't give it your all, you're gonna regret that, he said with a smirk as he kicked me in the gut, sending me flying. Bess. Harina yelled out only for her to get the same treatment. Dumbass, I thought we were taught that even if one of us goes down to keep fighting, I said as I got back up. Well, I can't help it, she pouted. You guys did say you weren't trying correct. Then let me see your full power, he yelled. I let out a sigh and told Irina, we are going to have to step our game up now. I know, she said. We'll SH Dragon Balance Breaker. Scale a male. Drake yelled. Irina then stretched out her arms and got into her serious battle stance with her sword. This power, it's amazing. Kokabiel yelled out as he charged us again. This time though, thanks to the boosted gear, I was much faster than him, and slammed my fist right into his face, sending him flying back. Irina then followed suit, her eyes wide open to see even the slightest movement from anywhere, and started to go fight him on an equal level. She swung her sword at him, which dodged with ease, but then as he was bringing his head back up, he got hit with a roundhouse kick to the side of the head, which sent him back a little bit. Irina then kept pushing him on, going back and forth with one another while I checked to see how everyone else was doing. IBA's group was winning, but still not doing well enough to be able to kill Valper before the bomb can go off, and Ria's group was losing slightly, but they were holding their own, thanks to Akeno's holy magic. I used this time to send a water blade right at Valper's head while he wasn't looking, easily decapitating him. Fried yelled at the sight of Valper getting killed, but because of him getting distracted, that was all the time Kiba and his group needed as they all impaled Fried. "Be bastards," he yelled as he died. Then they all went to Ria's group to help out there. I turned my attention back to Irina and Kokabiel. "Ah," Irina yelled out while swinging her sword while also blocking spears of light. "Ah." Kokabiel screamed back while he was using a spear of light as a sword to try and stab her, but he also had to keep blocking her attacks as well. I was about to rush in when I felt an aura that made me stop. I looked up past the barrier to see nothing, but I could definitely sense something there. "Oh, you're good to say hi, do," a female voice called out, which made Irina and Kokabiel back up a little bit as Irina came to my side panting heavily. "Thanks for helping out, you bastard," she said. "Well, I did kill Valper and stop the bomb," I said in my defense. Irina didn't really care though as she caught her breath. "Who are you? How dare you interrupt our fight?" Kokabiel yelled while also catching his breath. The beam went past the barrier carefully so as not to break it and landed. It was a woman with long messy silver hair, the White Dragon Emperor. "Look long enough for you to show," I said. "Oh, how do you know I would show up?" she replied in a cool voice. "I didn't know you would show, but I knew that help would arrive," I replied. "Well, let's get this over with," she said while she shrugged her shoulders and turned around. "Vanishing Dragon Balance Breaker Scale Male," another dragon's voice called out. With that, she charged at Kokabiel, who was too fast for Kokabiel to follow, and kneed him straight in the gut, sending him flying in the air. Kokabiel let out his wings so he could fly and sent down tons of light spears. "Divide, divide, divide." Vali's dragon called as the spears of light's power got cut in half. "Damn you, White Dragon!" Kokabiel yelled out, but the spears of light basically reduced to nothing. She went right behind him and ripped out one of his wings. "Ah!" Kokabiel yelled out in pain. Vali then slammed him down to the ground with her fist that had such a powerful force behind it that Kokabiel passed out. "She's good," I thought. She then flew down to him and teleported him somewhere. "I just teleported him to Azazel, who is going to seal him away in hell," she said. I didn't say anything as I looked over at Ria's group, who had won their fight thanks to Kiba and the other girls going in. "You know what they say, right?" she said as she turned around. "Seriously? Right here?" I thought. "Yay, the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor are bound to fight forever by fate," I responded. "Normally I would do this another time if you looked at the girl next to you, but since you look to be in tip-top shape, let's have a go, shall we?" she said while her one fist met her palm. "Issei," Irina said with her breath regained, "I'll fight with you, okay?" she said while getting into her battle stance. "No, Irina, this time I will most definitely have to go 100% for this fight. Just watch and take a break. You were fighting Kokabiel head to head, so I'm proud of you," I said as I put my hand on her head. She had cuts and bruises all over her body, so she definitely needed a break. "Yay. I like how you said that you would go 100% before and didn't even enter the zone. That's how I can tell that you didn't go 100%, she said with a blush and started walking away. Even though he was in his balance breaker mode, he still instigated physical contact with me. Could this mean I'm gonna have so much with him fun later? Irina thought with a wide smirk on her face. "What's this zone you were talking about?" Vala asked. "You're about to find out," I replied. "Are you ready to go?" Vala asked eagerly. "Rias?" I yelled. "What?" she yelled back. "Help Sona hold this barrier. This will shatter very easily since they have been holding it for a while. Help them with it." Brias looked at me but reluctantly agreed. "Fine. Let's go, everyone." I then turned back to Vala. "Wait for them, afterwards we will fight." Sounds good, she said. So, Napav, how much longer is this going to take? I felt Kokabiel's aura disappear, but then another aura more powerful appeared, I thought. I then realized that the church trio was coming out with Riaz and her group behind them, but Issei was nowhere to be found. Riaz? Where's Issei? I yelled out. Riaz then finished walking up and told me, Issei is fighting the White Dragon Emperor. He told us to help stabilize this barrier so it won't shatter while they're fighting. Hopefully, he'll be okay, Tsubaki said quietly. Do you think he can win? I asked nervously. I don't know, Ryo said. The arena started in a light laugh. Issei told me that he will be going all out for this fight. When he tries, nothing can stop him. Yay, but isn't the White Dragon Emperor super strong? Saji said. He's much stronger than I am, and I was going head to head with Kokabiel. He'll be fine, though it may be a close fight, Irina said with a slight grin. Well, I guess we'll have to trust him. Help me with this barrier, please, I said. Issei, please be safe, I thought. Well, the barrier is strengthened, so you're ready? Violet asked excitedly. Let's go, I replied. Almost instantly she appeared in front of me, getting ready to slam a fist in my face. I quickly dodged and countered with a knee to the gut, which sent her back a bit. I then took the initiative and started my attacks, which Vali was just barely dodging. What is she doing? Is she trying to throw the fight? I wondered. I was currently still fighting on the level that could match Kokabiel, so the fact she was losing this bad was weird. I quickly backed up and asked her, when are you going to stop playing around? I could ask you the same, she started anyway. I hope you're ready to try now, she said with a smirk behind her mask. I then quickly went after her again, only for her to dodge all my attacks with ease. Then she slammed her fist right into the side of my head, sending me to the side a little bit. She's fast, I thought. The reason why I was taking those attacks earlier was to see your attack patterns. Hopefully you have more up your sleeve, she yelled out as she started charging at me. No choice then, I thought. I then went into the zone. The zone was something both Irina and I were thought for when we go all out. It makes time flow slower for us and gives full attention to the battle we are currently in, so much so to the point where you would be able to see the slightest bit of movement from the enemy. Irina had gone into the zone against her fight with Kokabiel, making her on par with him. The drawback to this, though, is the longer you use it, the bigger the strain on your body once you're done, so it's not meant to be used all the time. As I entered the zone, I felt like everything had gone slow. Vali, who had been speeding at me, slowed down a considerable amount. She threw a punch at my face, which I sidestepped and kicked her right in the stomach while she was charging at me, kicking her all the way into the air, easily shattering the reinforced barrier. I went to go charge her again when she started laughing. I knew there was something special about you. Let's continue. She then stuck out her hand and I heard, divide, divide. I instantly felt the power leaving my body. Greg, I said instantly. On it, he said internally back. Boost, boost. The boost and divides kept cancelling out each other, which left Vali and I back to our fight. I summoned multiple water blades and sent them right at Vali, who dodged them easily and charged right back at me. I then changed my course mid-air and kicked her right back down to the ground. Divide, divide. Boost, boost. Both dragons said at the same time. I then followed her into the dust where she should have been, only to realize she wasn't there. She then appeared right next to me and gave me another punch to the side of the head, slightly cracking my armor. This time, however, I didn't get sent flying back and gripped her arm and let out a fire breath right on her. Divide. Who asked? She used one divide to half the power of the fire breath, which allowed me to double my overall power for this fight by one. She then did a backflip as she grabbed my arm and slammed me into the ground. She backed up a little bit, and I got back up. I quickly came up with a plan that could work with her battle style and came up with an idea instantly. She then charged at me again, and we kept throwing attacks at one another while flying all over the place. While we were in the air, I grabbed onto an opening and grabbed her by the helmet and slammed her back down to the ground. I then used the boosters on my back and started dragging her face through the ground all across the school. She then grabbed my wrist and threw me backward into a building, which I crashed into. I got back up right away and immediately noticed that she was planning on launching a spell at me. I quickly flew up in the air and dodged the incoming fireballs that she had sent at me, and I countered her by sending back tons of water blades. She then dodged by flying into the air after me, but I used another fire breath that she took head on. I quickly noticed her speed, however, wasn't slowing down, and she was quickly coming right toward me. I was about to dodge when I realized that the trick she just used was the same that I used against Tubuluna, and looked up to see Vali about to slam me to the ground with her fist. I dodged out of the way and grabbed her arm mid-punch and threw her back to the ground. I followed her to the ground to land directly on her stomach. She then coughed up blood as she grabbed my ankle and threw me off. This isn't good. She has much more durability than me since she is a natural-born devil. I have to get her into the position quick, I thought. I realized she was a devil as soon as we met, and not just any regular devil, a super high-ranking one at that. I figured that she was from the old Lucifer bloodline, as her name suggests. You really are a great rival. Vala yelled. I knew you were something special since the moment we met. I don't know what I'm feeling, fear? No, maybe excitement. I wondered. I quickly dismissed the thoughts, and was back in the battle. I didn't say anything and charged her again. The longer I stayed in the zone the worse, so I needed to wrap this up quickly. She then dodged, and we were back to fighting while flying in the air. To onlookers, this probably looked like a white and red blur chasing each other, and since the barrier broke, that's probably what the regular humans were seeing. After around 10 minutes, she charged at me fist first while screaming, "Ah!" I immediately charged at her back without saying and met her fist with mine. This is so much fun. She yelled as she started to push my fist back. I then felt a small grin appear on my face for what felt like the first time in forever. Checkmate, I said. I then took Askelon out of my arm and it pierced all the way into her arm, starting from her knuckles. She yelled in pain. I then grabbed her and threw her to the ground as I followed right away with my sword first. As I was going at her though, I felt another energy start to come right toward me, so I dodged and looked down to see who sent the mysterious energy at me. There were two people there, one being a girl with cat ears and black hair with a bust on par with Akenos, and a male with brown hair and a staff behind him. Naya, that was just mean, you know. Not only did you use a holy sword against Vala, but it was a dragon slayer sword no less. The cat girl yelled. Shit, these guys are just a little weaker than Valley. I definitely don't have the strength to take them on right now, I thought. Yeah. I mean, that's just a low blow, the boy yelled. Shut up. Valley yelled. I lost fair and square, but know this, red draw no. Say hi to our next battle, I will not lose, Valley yelled. It sounded like she was about to cry, but I couldn't tell since her face was covered. Vala just let us take care of his, the boy said. No. I lost. Just get me some healing, Kuroka. This hurts like hell. Vala yelled. Naya, fine. The cat girl said as she summoned a magic circle, but before they left she looked at me and said, I look forward to meeting you again, Issei. With that, they all disappeared and I flew back to the ground and deactivated my balance breaker. Irina and Sona both came running up to me, Issei. They both yelled, sorry, but I was about to say when I suddenly collapsed due to the fatigue built up after being in the zone for nearly 20 minutes, and because of that I was now unconscious. So Napov, Issei had been battling for nearly 20 minutes, and as the time went on, I saw Irina's expression change from confident to extremely worried. After the barrier broke, humans kept on coming up the battle and had to get their memories wiped by everyone there by using magic. After all, to humans, this looked like something you would see in a movie, a red blur and a white blur fighting each other. After we realized that the fight was over with the appearance of newer presences, Irina and I both ran over to see what happened, only to see a defeated Vali with two other people that teleported away as soon as we arrived. Issei then started to talk but then passed out and fell right on top of me. I managed to say as I got out, the biggest blush I've ever had on. I turned to Irina, who surprisingly didn't look mad at me and only looked relieved to see that his Sei was okay. I then picked up his Sei and carried him back to the group now that all of the humans were gone. Rias, I'm going to take him to a hospital and the underworld take care of things here. Is Issei going to be alright? Akeno asked. I didn't say anything even though everyone clearly wanted answers. Even Irina, who normally would be excited to see him, seemed super worried about him. Rios gave a nod and with that, I took Issei to the most advanced hospital in the underworld and got him a room immediately. After a while of worrying, I got a text from my sister that she will be over right away. I got worried about that, and could only hope that she wouldn't cause a big scene. As soon as she arrived though, she looked deathly worried about Issei, which surprised me since it seemed like she didn't really like him before. "Sona, what happened to him?" Seraphil asked desperately. I then told her about the fight that happened, and why he was knocked out and covered in bruises. "Sona, I am really sorry," Seraphil said as she burst out in tears. Irina was sleeping on her chair since her going into the zone still exhausted her as well. I guess since from what she said, her being in the zone for the 5 minutes she was in was already a lot of stress on the body. Issei, who used it for 20 minutes, was going to be in a lot of pain for a while. "Why are you apologizing, sis?" I asked curiously. Because I should have been there to help, mere one of the Demon Kings," she said sadly. I didn't say anything because she was right. Someone around the status of Demon King should have been there. If it wasn't for Irina and Issei, we would have all been dead. "You are able to see Mr. Hayden now," Ina said. Irina woke up and followed us into the room where we saw Issei bandaged up. "He doesn't have any broken bones or fractures. He has tons of bruises and scratches on him, and his muscles are completely exhausted right now. He will most likely be asleep for a while," the nurse said sadly. Seraphil started crying again, while I just looked at Issei and hoped he was alright. Irina, though, had another train of thought and climbed into the hospital bed with him. "Irina, what are you doing? You have to let him rest," I said. "I need some healing too. And since we're here, I might as well use this bed," she said as she snuggled up closer to Seraphil, then grabbed her and put her on the other empty bed in the room. "Don't bother Issei while he's sleeping," Seraphil said angrily. Then the two of them got into an argument about the whole ordeal. The nurse had left the room by now, and I grabbed Issei's hand. "Issei, please get well soon," I thought as I felt tears leave my eyes. 2 days later, Issei POV. I opened my eyes to be swarmed by people. Around me were Sona, Seraphil, Chuck Trio, and Kaneko, who all had tears coming out of their eyes. "Issei, you're alright?" Seraphil yelled as she jumped on me. "Oh," I thought. They all took their turns saying how happy they were to see me and Watanabe, but I just wanted to go back to sleep. After a while, most of them left except for Sona, Irina, and Kaneko. "To say one more thing before I leave," Sona started, "our house was upgraded big time when you were asleep, and we bought your parents another house to live in since we told them that we needed more space. They agreed to it though, and now you will be living in a mansion with us." I sighed and said thanks. With that, Sona was about to take her leave when she stopped at the doorway, turned around, and jumped on the bed while kissing me on the lips. She got up and without looking at me said, "That was my first kiss, so don't let it go to waste," she said as she left the room. Irina looked like she was about to kill her, but thankfully Kaneko was able to hold her down. Fine then," Irina said as she walked up to me and kissed me on my lips. "We'll call it even then, since that was my first kiss too," she said as she left the room. I was stunned by what had just happened and turned to an also stunned Kaneko. "You aren't going to kiss me too, right?" I said in a monotone voice. A slight blush appeared as she shook her head. "There is something I want to talk to you about though," she said. "Is it about Kuroka?" I asked. She seemed shocked that I knew but composed herself quickly. "Did she say anything to you?" "Yay, she said that she looks forward to meeting me again," I said bluntly. This visibly angered Kaneko as she muttered, "Why does she always want to take from me?" I looked at her but didn't say anything with it. She said thank you and left, leaving me by myself. "Greg?" I asked. "Yay, partner?" he responded. "The fight that we did, how do you think I did compared to other Red Dragon Emperors? In terms of pure strength, you rank one of the highest so far when you go all out. However, in terms of IQ and battle IQ, you are the best I've ever had," Drake said proudly. I didn't respond to that, but it was at least good to know. Thanks to Irina and me fighting Kokabiel and fighting the White Dragon Emperor, that definitely gave Sona more recognition in the underworld. Whether people want to or not, they have to realize sooner or later that Sona's peerage is stronger than Ria's, and when people realize that, I can return the favor to Sona for her saving my life, I thought as I went back to bed. The day was finally the day I was allowed to be discharged from the hospital. I was told just to take it easy the next few days and to eat well and all that. I left with Sona and went back to my house, or I would say my house, but this looked nothing like it anymore. All of the houses near mine were going, and my house seemed to have around 5 stories now. Sona, do I really need a house this big? I asked. Of course. After all, lots of people are going to be moving in with you in the future, Sona responded. Zenovia, Ikinus and Irina had to go back to the church in England after the peace meeting, so I guess they wanted to enjoy the new house. I opened the door and went inside, and Sona gave me a tour. To say that this place was huge was no joke. It had 5 stories going up and 3 basements. One being for storage, one being a pool, and the last being a workout room. I quickly headed up into my room to rest a little bit. After all, I was still not in my best condition after my fight with Vali. As I went upstairs though, someone else came running down yelling something. Issei, guess what? Irina yelled. What? I asked in a monotone voice. I got us all tickets to go to the pool, she responded. Don't we have a pool here? I asked again. Don't be like that. Going to a public pool is what makes it fun, Irina cried out. Personally, I would like a personal one more, but I guess she did already buy the tickets, I thought. All right. So when are we going? Right now, of course, she responded. Fine. I just hope you didn't forget about that favor that you owe me, I reminded her. Her face turned serious for a moment. Of course not, and from what you told me, the red-hair princess also owes you one. I nodded and went upstairs into my room as Irina got everyone in the house together to go to the pool. As I got finished changing into swim gear, I was about to open the door when I felt a super strong presence appear from behind me. This aura made Vala's aura look like child play. I immediately turned around and got into a battle stance, only to see a young girl with black hair and emotionless eyes like mine. Can I ask what you are doing in my house? I asked. She didn't respond at first, and was only taking a look at me before she said, of course, I would want to know who took out one of my strongest subordinates. So the leader of the Cows Brigade, I thought. Peasy, I believe your name was. Join me, I will give you power, and in return, you can help me kill Great Red. Who's Great Red? I asked. Greg, have you really not told him these things yet? She asked while looking at my hand. Sorry, office, I haven't had the chance to, so please forgive this lowly dragon. Drake cried out. Boy, I thought you were supposed to be super prideful, I thought. Well, to explain then, I am Office the Ouroboros dragon, and Great Red is the dragon of dreams, she said in a monotone voice. I do not wish to join you currently, I responded. Currently? So maybe in the future? She asked again. Who knows? I said as I shrugged my shoulders. You really are an interesting person, Issei Hayadu Office thought. Well, think about it. I don't want to ruin your dates today anyway, she said with a smirk as she teleported away. Holy shit. That aura was something else, I thought. Well, she is one of the 2 dragoon gods, Dragadidon. I then went downstairs to find Zenovia, Ichinos, Irina and Sona all waiting for me at the front entrance. What took you so long? Irina pouted. I guess then Office put up a barrier, I thought. Sorry. Anyway, let's get going, I said. We then all left for the pool, and when we arrived it was huge. It wasn't just any public pool but more like a water park. It had water slides, wave pools, and everything. We then found a place to set our stuff down, and Irina called out to me, Hey, Issei, want to see my swimsuit? She asked with a grin as she took off the oversized sweatshirt she had on. She was wearing a white bikini that fitted her pretty well. No reaction? You're mean, she said as she pouted again. Everyone else then took of theirs. Sona was wearing a black one-piece swimsuit while looking extremely embarrassed. Zenovia had a blue bikini on, and Ichinos was wearing a white bikini with a little bit of gold. Now off to the water slides, Irina said as she grabbed my hand and dragged me around. The other girls followed in pursuit to where we were going, which was the tallest water slide there. As we were going up though, I saw someone unexpected, Horikita. She just looked at me with a disgusting glare as she saw that I had 4 beautiful girls with me. Why is it that everywhere I go I always see you? she asked harshly. I could ask you the same thing, I said back. She then turned her back to me and said, well, this ride takes a maximum of 8 people, so I guess we will be riding together. I guess so, I responded. We then waited in line until it was our turn. We all sat in a tube and went down the slide at a super fast pace. I had no expression on my face while everyone looked like they were having a blast, except Horikita, who had the same look as me. I then glanced over at Irina, who all of a sudden got an evil smirk on her face. Don't do it, Irina, I thought, but it was already too late as she already started losing her top. As we reached the end of the slide, all of us fell out of the tube and into the water, and then Irina made her move. I say, can you come over here? She said in a loud whisper. I think I lost my top. Can you help me find it? Luckily, I had been paying attention to where she had thrown it off and grabbed it for her, as she secretly put it back on with a sour expression on her face. I then got out of the water and went to Horikita. So why are you here? You don't seem like the type of person to be here, much less go on water slides, I said. They came in the mail, so I figured that I might as well go, and for the slide I was bored, so I went on it, she responded. We then chatted for a while before I headed back to my group. Before I left though, she said, one more thing, Issei. I don't know what you're hiding, but mark my words, I will find out, she said with a glare. Interesting, I thought, but I have nothing to hide, I said back. She didn't say anything else, so I walked back to my group. For the rest of the day, we just hanged out and went on some more rides until it was finally time for the park to close. I had a lot of fun today, Irina said. Yay, me too, Ichino said. Something that had been bothering me though was that Sona wasn't really talkative today, so I asked her about it. Sona, what's up? I asked. It's nothing, she said, but she gave the hints that she wanted me to ask further. I let out a sigh and asked, don't be like that. We are friends. We can talk about this stuff. Then be honest. Do you like my swimsuit? She asked. So that's what this was, I thought. Of course, I said bluntly. My bluntness made her face go to a deep red T. Thank you, she said quietly. We then caught up with the rest of the group as Sona seemed a lot happier now. Grafia, I can't believe that Issei has taken down the White Dragon Emperor, Surzik said in a chair talking to his maid. I can. He is much stronger than most people would think, Grafia responded. It's a shame though, he may think he is indeed the smartest, but my experience is greater, Surzik said. What do you mean? Asked Grafia. What he is trying to do is to try and take away Ria's control of Kwa and give it to Sona. Of course, I can't flat out say no to that, but his win over the White Dragon Emperor makes this more complicated, Surzik said. How so? Grafia asked again. I will never hand over my little sister's territory to someone else, but if Sona's peerage continues to prove that they are better than Ria's peerage, then I may not have a choice, Surzik said angrily. But I myself have a major influence, more than any other demon king, so I'm sure that I can use that. But having a say like to be someone who doesn't like to stand out, it will make things much easier for me. I see, Grafia said. Anyway, you need to focus on your work. The meeting with the faction leaders is in 3 more days. But that Surzik started going back to work. Surzik, although you may be my master, I will never ever fully give myself to you. After all, you killed most of my family and turned me into your maid. So when Issei completely destroys you and your sister, I'll be watching with a smile, Grafia thought. Vali, how are you doing? Kuroka asked. Better now, but I just have to be careful. Biko, can you get me some water, please? Sure thing, Princess, Biko said mockingly. I say hi to. How can he be so strong? If I had to guess, when he was still human, he was probably the strongest human that didn't know about the supernatural. Even so, for me to be defeated like this, I will have my revenge, Vali thought as another person entered the room. Oh, office! They all called out. I had a talk with the Red Dragon Emperor, Issei Hayadu, office started. What did you guys talk about? Bika asked. I asked him if he would join us, office said with a smirk. Don't give me that, Vali yelled out. Office, however, quickly shut him down by flexing her aura. He rejected the offer for now, but something tells me that he may be switching to this side soon, Office said with the smirk still on her face. Office, surely you understand though that we are destined to fight, Vala said. Of course, I know, and frankly I don't care. If he can help me kill Great Red, that's what matters. But why would he switch sides? Baika asked. Well, of course he's planning something. I've actually been secretly watching him for a while, and to say that he is a genius is no joke. If I'm not careful, he might be able to outdo me. What is he going to do though? Kuroka asked. Declare war on the Gremries. Of course not officially, but he will challenge them, and of course, they will accept only for them to lose, Alpha said. So Alpha, Vali started, do you think that he will help us in the future? Although it's not 100%, I can see him joining our side depending on which approach he takes. Anyway, it's about time that I get going now. I hope to see progress on your mission soon, Alpha said as she left. Someone that could outsmart our master. I would like to have babies with that boy, Kuroka said while licking her lips. Sorry, but you won't be able to, Vala said. Oh? Have you fallen for him, Vala? Of course not. Next time I see him he'll be dead, that's why, Vala said intensely. Did you not hear what just said? Bika said. Of course, she wants to add him, but I live for fighting people. If I die after defeating the Red Dragon Emperor, then so be it. It was the night before the big meeting. I was asleep in my room with Sona, Irina and Serafil all sleeping with me. Serafil came back since the meeting was soon, and since I have a bigger bed, she let Irina sleep in here. Boy, Irina, wake up, I said quietly. Issei, what is it? I have something to talk to you about. We then both got up and went downstairs. What do you need to talk to me about this late at night? Could it be? Irina asked with a smirk. No. During this meeting you pick the church over me, understand? How do you mean? When we all sit at the table, all important figures will be there. Of course, Michio will be there, so you will stand behind him with the two other girls and not behind me. I can do that, but why? She asked back, confused. Does do it? I responded back. Fine. With that, we both went back to bed and waited for the next day to come. The meeting was at midnight tonight, and it was already 10 p.m. We spent the whole day just relaxing with Serafil pestering Sona about things. Well, it's about time we get going, Ichino said with a smile. We then left for school. We were early, but it's better to be early than late. When we arrived, everyone was already there with the exception of Azazel. There was a total of 6 seats with them all having names assigned to them. I looked for my name, but it seems that it was not there. I shot Surzex as a glare, who was already sitting down having some tea, and glared back. Whoa, I didn't know I was supposed to get here early, a man said while walking into the room. Azazel, I'm assuming, I thought. Well, now that everyone is here, let's begin, Mikhail said. As Azazel grabbed his seat, he asked, is the Red Dragon Emperor not going to sit with us? Well, I figured that since he was a servant of the Citri family, he would be behind them. Out of Sona peerage, only Tsubaki and Saji were here, however they hadn't said anything. I then walked up to Sona and pulled her up out of her chair and sat down on hers, and then pulled her back down on the chair so she was sitting on my lap. A big blush went across her face. Don't worry, Surzex, I'm guessing that you just forgot a chair, since there's no way you could forget someone who just took down the White Dragon Emperor, correct? Surzex only glared back at me in return. Behind me and Sona were Sagi and Tsubaki. Behind Mikhail were the church trio. Behind Riaz was her whole peerage. And behind Serafil, Surzex and Azazel were nobody. Well, let's talk about the Kokabiel incident. The Excaliburs the church were after were destroyed correctly. Surzex said, yes, there are only 3 left now, and those are Mimic, Destruction, and the last one which was lost, Michio responded. Also concerning Kokabiel, I'll pay for any damages he caused. It was my responsibility in a way for not keeping an eye on him, Azazel added. During the fight with Kokabiel, the one who fought him nearly to defeat was Irina, correct? Mikhail asked while turning his head to look at her. Yes, it was Sir Mikhail, Irina said formally. I'm glad we have someone so reliable working in the church, Mikhail added with a smile. After that, the room was silent for a while until Azazel spoke up. Let's just make peace. That's why we are here, correct? This shocked everyone in the room except Irina and I as we just continued watching. Well, yes, that is the reason we are here, Surzek started. We want to ensure that another war doesn't break out between the factions. Everyone would lose in that situation, and there could be a chance that one of us goes extinct. After an hour of them going over the details and what, not Azazel spoke again to change the topic. So, Issei Hayadu, you were the one who took down Vala? Yes? Did you happen to know her? She was like my disciple of sorts. She would hang around and I would spar with her from time to time. At a certain point, she beat me every single time. To think that you beat her is just outstanding. Thank you, but let's not forget that Sona's peerage held the barrier up and took care of most people when the barrier broke. Also that Ria's peerage was also able to take care of 3 of Kokabiel's underlings. At first glance, this may have been a compliment, but I just said that Sona's peerage is stronger than Ria's. By saying that I took out the White Dragon Emperor, and by saying that it took Ria's whole peerage to take out 3 of his underlings, makes her look weak and makes us look strong. Well, it was Cerberus, Sergiches added. Well, that may be true. They would have lost if not for Akeno's holy lightning, I countered. Well, that may be true. Akeno is part of Ria's peerage, so she counts towards Ria's strength. Who helped her accept her powers though? It wasn't Ria's, it was me. Ria's was visibly angry after I said that, and Sergiches couldn't come up with anything else to say. I also helped Akeno, Ria yelled. Did you? Or did you only tell her that it was okay and to keep waiting until she's ready? I said emotionlessly. If I may, while I do thank Rias for everything that she has done for me, Issei was the one who helped me accept myself, Akeno added. Akeno, you? Rias started before she cut herself off. I looked over at Akeno, who met my gaze for a moment, and then turned away with a blush on her face. One more thing, and probably the biggest shock to you all. Since everybody here is from a higher class, I can tell you this. But nobody is to say anything, understand, Azazel said. We looked at him with curiosity except Irina and I, who already knew what he was going to say. Biblical God is dead. He died during the last war. This made everyone who didn't know have a shocked face, while Irina and I had no change in face. Zenobia and Ichino seemed pretty out of it learning of God's death, but I figured they would ask questions later. Then all of a sudden a barrier was put up around the whole school and lots of people stopped moving. What happened? Sona asked. Esper, Sergiches said as he said that Rios left to go toward to where Gasper was. Everybody was frozen except for Sergiches, Seraphiel, Mikhail, Azazel, Irina, myself, and Sona. Paired to explain. Azazel asked. Rias has a bishop that has been sealed away for being unable to control his power. Somebody must have broken the seal and captured Gasper, Sergiches said. Why did she have something so powerful if she can't control it? Seraphiel asked. He was on the verge of death, and to save him she turned him into a devil. Are you sure you're giving him a better life though? You said he was sealed, meaning that he must have been sealed away from the outside world instead of working with him in order to control his power, Sona said. Then hundreds of people with black robes came into the barrier, and there was one strong aura in particular. Sona and I will go after Rias, I said in a monotone voice. Although Cercicus wanted to reject it, he knew he couldn't. We then ran over to where Rias went while everyone else went to go fight the magicians. We finally entered the old school building where Gasper was. We then followed where the magic was strongest, and saw a vampire boy being pinned against the wall by magic with people in black robes around the boy. Let my servant go, Rias yelled. Rias. The weak vampire managed to get out. The black mages then attacked us by using basic magic skills. Water blade, Sona called out, and just like that all of the mages were decapitated. She was able to change the direction of the water blade while it was still going, which was how she was able to kill all of them. We then freed Gasper as he started crying and apologizing for being captured. I then walked up to the boy and bit my thumb so it bled. Drink, I said. Blood, he yelled back. I stared at him with a cold expression that said drink now. He reluctantly had a little bit of my blood and he was able to control his powers again, making time go back to normal. Issei, what did you do? Rias asked. Does it matter? I just freed everyone from being stuck in time, I said. Sona and I then left, leaving Rias and Gasper behind. The reason I was able to have Gasper control his power by drinking my blood was that I have dragon blood inside of me, and because of that he was able to control his power. Sona could probably figure that out, but I don't know about Rias. I then went outside to join everyone fighting in the battle and activated my balance breaker. Everyone was fighting to their full potential, but Zenovia and Aquinas couldn't focus after they were just told. I noticed Azazel was in the air with the strongest person here, so I flew up to meet him. Our Red Dragon Emperor, glad you could join me, Azazel said with a grin. You don't take me lightly. Arthas gave me this mighty power to crush you all. She cried out as she turned her arm into a tentacle and blitzed right towards Azazel at a super fast speed. Right before it could reach him, I sliced off her arm, but it grew back right away. Thanks for the save. I didn't expect it to come that fast. It's fine. We then turned our attention toward her again. Damn it. I will never allow you, fake demon kings, to rule the underworld. She yelled out as she sent both her arms toward us. So she's a former demon king's daughter, I thought. All of the demon kings had died in the war, so I guess their children would be upset if they didn't get to inherit the throne. Azazel and I both dodged her attack, and Azazel brought out a yellow item and said balance breaker. Soon a yellow plate of armor similar to mine appeared on his body. Dragon King Fafnir, Drake said internally. We then both charged at the women, who promptly backed up and sent more tentacles toward us, which we dodged with ease as I and Azazel got on either side of her and started beating her up. I punched her in the face and she would get sent towards Azazel, and he would punch her back, sending her back to me. All the while I was able to get a total of 3 boosts off before she finally was able to break out of the combo. I will never let you beat me, she yelled before her magic increased tenfold. She's going to self-destruct, Azazel yelled. I quickly charged right behind her and snapped her neck with no difficulty, making her self-destruct stop and killing her. Wow. You're a good red dragon. Just call me Issei. Well, there's this and the fact that you are going to be able to take over this territory, he said with a smirk. I figured that he would figure out. In fact, if I had to guess, Ursicus and Mitchell both knew as well. But as long as Riaz doesn't know, then everything will be fine. I don't know what you're talking about, I said as I started going back to the ground. Then forget I said anything, he said with the same smirk on his face. All of the mages were nearly taken out, thanks to Irina going on a rampage slaughtering everyone. In the midst of the chaos, everyone went up to Riaz and Gasper to ask about the detail, but I pulled Mikhail over to the side. Mikhail, if you don't mind, could you make Irina one of your servants? I don't see why not. She's strong, smart, but she is a little sadistic. As long as she doesn't go too out of hand, it should be fine though, he said with a sweat drop rolling down. Hey! Irina yelled as she ran over to us. I know I did not just hear what I just did. If that happens, I won't ever be able to have sex with Issei. Do owe me a favor. Do it, I said. But it should be fine, Mikhail started with a smile. I can change the system to make it so you can still love him if you wish. Damn it, I thought as I looked back at Irina, who was jumping in joy. Then I accept. Then Zenovia and Ichinos came over with a sad look in their eyes. Mikhail, is Good truly dead? Zenovia asked. Yes, sadly he is. Currently, I have replaced him for the meantime, but I am nowhere near as good as he was. But that Zenovia and Ichinos seem to have broken a little bit. I see, Ichinos said. With that, they both walked away to be on their own for a bit. I then walked away as well before Azazel yelled out loudly enough for everyone to hear Hayes say, How did Gasper's power go back to normal? He's helping me. It's probably a trap, but I should take this opportunity, I thought. I helped him control his power by giving him my blood. In other words, if you don't want him to go out of control, you need me around, I said. Ursicus gave Azazel a cold glare and Azazel laughed it off. Then Sona and Seraphol came up to me say, There's something we must speak about, Seraphol said. What? I asked. Seraphol normally wasn't this serious, so it was strange. Diodora has been making moves lately. There is a tournament for new coming devils and he publicly challenged us first, Sona added. He's still holding on to that grudge, I thought. Whatever, we'll just beat him then, I said. It's not that simple though. Because of his hostility towards Sona, we sent spies after him to keep an eye on them. All of the spies were killed immediately. Keep in mind the spies are supposed to be on par with all of the upcoming devils, such as Sona and Rias. So he had a sudden burst in power, making him way stronger than he was before. It was probably Office at work again. There wasn't any other way you could suddenly get that strong, unless it was power from Office. The girl we just fought also got some power from Office. I see, I said back. It was pretty convenient that a raiding game tournament was coming up. It meant that I could challenge Rias with way less difficulty. Do you know how he got so strong so fast? Seraphil asked. No idea, I lied. Don't give me that. You figured out that God died by yourself. There's no way you don't know. I just said I don't know. Why would I keep such important info away if I knew it? They both looked at me but finally left me alone. Afterward we were finally all able to go back home. So Issei, I want to know, why do you want to make me an angel? Irina asked. Everyone else was currently sleeping and we were in the living room watching anime. I have no influence there, I said. Most things I found boring, but I found anime to be quite a fun hobby. The one I was watching now was about a brother and sister who got sent into another world where games decide everything. It was interesting. What about the fallen angels? You don't have any influence there. But the fallen, I can make an influence. I was keeping my answers short since I didn't want to be interrupted right now. Irina finally got the hint and snuggled up to me on the couch. The next morning, I woke up on the couch with Irina sleeping on my shoulder. Then all of a sudden Seraphil and Sona came downstairs. Issei, we have to go to the underworld. This woke up Irina and I responded with for the tournament. Exactly? I guess Zinovia and Ichino's already left. I asked. Yes, they have. They left a note saying thank you for everything. Speaking of which, don't you have to be back soon? Sona asked. I guess I do, but I don't want to leave Issei alone. I'll be okay. Just go back, I said in a monotone voice. Fine, she said. A few minutes later she was all packed up. Well, thank you for letting me stay. I hope to see you all soon, especially Issei. Then she left out the door. So when are we leaving for the underworld? I asked. ASAP, the sooner we get there the better, Sona replied. With that, I packed up and came back downstairs. Be ready? Seraphil asked. I nodded my head and with that, she opened a magic circle and sent us into the underworld. Well, that's it guys. We've reached the latest chapter. Sadly, there is no update from the author. Maybe in the future, who knows. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.